Sorry, I was eating food. Hi. Oh my gosh, we're here. We got stuff going on. And hello, Crafter Knight. How are you doing? How are you doing, Crafter Knight? Oh my gosh, my throat hurts. Hay fever. Hay fever still has me in its grip. Is that better? Hopefully. Hopefully. Now, hay fever is not fun, but hello everyone. How are you all doing? How are you doing? We got World Eat. Well, we might have World Eat Lore. I'm not sure. I've still not opened the magazines. We're gonna look at it together. And oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I hope you're all having a good day because and you're sleeping well. I've not been sleeping well. I've been, you know, do you ever have those times where, you know, you're asleep and you're dreaming and it feels like hours upon hours upon hours have passed, maybe even entire days. The dreams are incredibly busy, lots of stuff's happening. I'm struggling to get a glove out here, but I'll like, come on, let me grab one. There we go, finally. I'll like over each other. But yeah, there's well, it feels like hours upon hours have passed, days even, years. And you don't necessarily need to be in the dream yourself. You could just be like watching, like it's watching TV or something. If that's what it feels like sometimes. But and then you wake up and it's been like 15 minutes. That's what I've been getting, and you feel so exhausted, and sometimes you're like in a deep sweat or. Like, one of the things I've been getting recently is my body feels like I'm waking up from death. Like, my mouth is just completely dry, my eyes are dry, everything is just... Like, my heartbeat is incredibly slow. My limbs feel like they're having blood pumped back into them and they're like, ow. Do you do like when your limb dies because you sat wrong or whatever? It feels like that waking up just my entire body. Yeah, I've been like that a lot recently. It's very weird. My red butcher sons and my berserkers with eat your world and your cupcakes. No, don't eat the cupcakes. I'll eat my world and my cupcakes. Don't eat the cupcakes. They're friends, not food. You need to tell that to the world eaters. Oh my gosh, my elbows. I need to get like some elbow rest from a desk. What desk? Bam! Hand cam. Yeah. Okay, what have we got? I built these guys last night. You know, when they're struggling to sleep. And then when I do sleep and waking up again, I was like, I literally just built them in bed. I just brought my world eaters, my looters box over to my bed. And I was like, it's been sat like in the pile. Just waiting to be built for ages. Because we already built one set of looters. So I thought, you know what, I'll build them. The looters, again, they didn't have like the correct arm to go over missile launcher. So I had to cut the rocket off a rocket launcher. Cut the power pack off from it. Cut up one of the burners. And then I glued the power pack to the bottom of the burner. Cut away the wire from the burner. Cut away the end of the burner and another tubing here. And then added a rocket to the end. Gave it this cool targeting head. Gave him the mech backpack. And it's like, oh, so cool. He's such a cool model. The war will be legendary. And then I just built the others. As you know, you expect to build them. We got a cigar arc with them. This one doesn't look very looted. It looks like just arc big shooters, and they've got a looted skull on it, I guess. Yeah, it looks like just typical arc big shootery stuff. This one is looted though. Look, you can see a Tau fusion rifle here, and like that actually just looks like a slugger on the side. And this one is, if you actually look carefully, you can see this was a last cannon. It's heavily modified, but yeah, it was the last cannon. In fact, you can even see a bit of an oh, that's a last
Careful when eating worlds. They are like cooked tomatoes and a nuclear warm on the inside.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all a planet is. Yeah, it's got a little last gun at the bottom. You can even see the Aquila. Then it's got a last cannon part at the top. So yeah, this is definitely looted. And then for the last looted gun, there's only a big shooter left. Like it just looks like a bunch of big shootery stuff. So I looted. I don't know what. I can't remember what this is from or what it even is. But I found it and I cut up one of the burners. I put it on the burner and now it's you know, now it's a looted gun. For my looters. Yeah, and spikes. Hi Anthony, how you doing? And also I finally decided to get Baron Avos model I've got, which is of Ultramarine with a Thunderhammer, and I built him with some changes. This is from the Company Heroes, of the backpack and the Iron Halos from the Company Heroes box. That is, I can't remember, it might be from the Terminators. That's Plasma Pistol and arm is from Company Heroes. This part is from Company Heroes. That's some Black Templar upgrade sprue. This thing, Black Templar upgrade sprue. The hand relic here, the skeleton hand, Black Templar upgrade sprue, I think. That's some for heads upgrade sprue. I had to green stuff over the U on his head, on the servo skull head, because I had the Ultramarine U. And then the Thunderhammer is just the Thunderhammer. I'm going to use him as a marshal with Plasma Pistol. And that's just a mastercrafted it's not a Thunderhammer, it's a mastercrafted power weapon. World Eater's more like, wah! Eaters. Yeah, wah! Wah! Yeah. So, and also, when I was doing the looters, I was like, oh yeah, I forgot the led by mechs. And as a result, I stole the mech head. And I had to rip him out of here to rip his head off. And then I glued on a new head. As you can see, this head is quite, required me to cut it up quite a bit to get it off. The glue was strong. And then I edited, I took the arrow pointy thing that was on the model, on the tank part of it, and put it here. I took one of the symbols and the looters and put it on the back here where the skull used to be. Which I think were both changes that, while small, significant. Also, I figured out what to do with a statue from the Red Tower on Delvin, the Red Tower box. It's smashing through the statue. Look at that. It's amazing. I actually had to use green stuff to just keep it stuck there. While the glue dried. But, oh, doesn't that look amazing? It's like, really adds to the entire speed of this just bouncing around. Which is why I removed that front plate. Wait, what else is on it? I swear I put something else on the model somewhere. I suppose a second, like, front plate. Where is it? There's a second plate from the looter's box. I put some. Oh, there it is. Yeah. So now look at it go. It's like, let me turn off that light because it's too bright on the white part. It's like smashing through, like, whoa, I'm gonna crush you. I'm gonna smash you up. I'm gonna do. Like, oh, that's like speed and power. Hi, Vince Falcon. Why are you turning me into a banana? So mean. Yeah, I thought you guys might appreciate that. Yeah, so that's what I was doing last night instead of sleeping because, you know, sleep does not come to me at the moment for some reason. I blame hay fever. I need to get new elbow. I need to get elbow rests on my desk because my elbows are starting to really hurt. Oh, but before we get into the lore, before we get to the... stop, no! There is some stuff that we need to go over from earlier today. Well, not from just earlier today, from yesterday. Ooh, seeing those faction packs. We'll look at them later. But I forgot, I missed this yesterday. New Mark 6 Space Marines.
Sleep is for the weak, and is very unproductive.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. It's true. Yeah, new Mark 6 Space Marines. Oh, they got the little skulls of their heads. But they don't have any of the little balls on them. The... Oh, what do they call them? The studs. There's like studs you can have on for shoulder pads and the shin guards and stuff. There's new Assault Marines, and they're also getting a new box. So it's going on. It looks pretty good actually. Sicarian tanks are really cool. Oh darn it! Sicarian tanks are really cool, and so are Contemptor Dreads. You get 10 Assault Marines, 20 of these dudes. They can be built as veteran Assault Marines with a complete set of power lances. Oh, that looks cool. Yeah, it's nice. Oh yeah, new stuff. It looks like it might be Warhammer Fantasy, Warriors of Chaos. Doesn't look Age of Sigmar. I mean, it could be Age of Sigmar. Definitely doesn't look 40k unless it's maybe Traitor Guard. Lost and the Damned. Oh yeah, there's going to be another 11th edition Battle Report. There's this Eldarian Death Guard. When it comes to faction packs, the 40k though, I did have a proper chance to go through them. And I noticed some issues with a Space Marine faction pack. Now this unfortunately would take forever to bloom and load. So give it a little while. So, oh yeah, they did show what the faction points were. The detachment points were. So here you go. Each detachment point is here. Some of them are 2. Orbital drop is 2. Wherever it is. Oh, where's the orbital? There we go, 2. But yeah, they show. So some are 1, some are 2. The Dark Angels here, Blood Angel. I've not gone through all of them. I've only gone through the Black Templars and Space Marines and the Death Watch a little bit. As you can imagine, there's not a lot of changes, but there are some changes that surprise me. So if we go down, I've not gone through all of the changes here. Partly because it would just take for hours upon hours to go through it all. I think comparing it to what we currently have. A lot of them haven't changed much though. They're still the same thing as before. And a lot of those that have changed, it's minor changes. There's some that have had major changes, but we've pretty much shown most of those ones already, and we've gone over them in the other thing. But we just go down, we keep scrolling down. Armor of Contempt has changed its wording, but it's not much. Reclamation Task Force, oh my gosh. But yeah, this is... We're not sure if this is actually going to be the final release of these things, because obviously this new codex is going to come out not too long after the 11th edition hits fully. And when the new codex comes out, we're going to get new eradicators very likely. So those lists of a land speeder, those data sheets, might not be entirely accurate, and for the eradicators. So we go down past these things, go down past them, and we'll eventually get to the... Hello. Well, this doesn't have a frame keyword. Every vehicle pretty much has had the frame keyword added to it, but they didn't add it to a drop pod, which could be purposeful. There's one I think it's not purposeful on. This one is fine. They gave it a frame keyword. They've not really needed to update it. But then the Thunderhawk gunship. Yeah, it's still got for aircraft keyword. And it's still got for hover keyword. These two things cannot exist at the same time anymore. On top of this, they didn't give it for frame keyword, and it needs a frame keyword. They just completely forgot that the Thunderhawk exists of the update. And even here, they've not changed the aerial assault rules either. It's like, yeah, after this is made a normal move. Each time a unit of deep strike ability disembarks on this model, after it has made a normal move, that unit is still eligible to declare a charge. It doesn't do normal moves anymore. If it's staying as an aircraft, it can't do normal moves. I think they need to get rid of the aircraft keyword on it. And instead... and they need to give it the frame keyword. Yeah, they completely forgot that this thing exists. My god, look at all that detachment bloat. The detachment bloat is insane for Space Marines. But here we go. New rules, updates. One of the big ones to note is a lot of these things just not, if unfortunately not highlighted for new stuff, so most of it is pretty much just the same as before. They've obviously changed anything where it talks about deep strike. We've changed 9 inches to 8 inches. So like here, and other things like where you can be 9 inches away, changed to 8 inches. Stormlands Task Force, again 8 inches. Oh yeah, here you go. Every single vehicle, including the flyers, has been given the frame keyword. That's a big thing to note. And they forgot to give it to the Thunderhawk. It doesn't say Thunderhawk here either. On top of this, the Stormhawk Interceptor and Storm Talon gunship have the hover word removed and have their movement and OC changed to 0, which makes sense. And then you have the Storm Talon dropship, which has the aircraft keyword, the Storm Raven, sorry, not Storm Talon. The Storm Raven has the aircraft keyword removed and its movement changed to 14 inches. And it keeps the hover keyword. So this looks like what they wanted to do. This is probably what they should have done to the Thunderhawk, considering it's also a transport and it operates very similarly to the Storm Raven. So yeah, that's very silly of them. The Infernus Battle Shock is still the same. Meteoric Descent is still pretty much the same. It's still only 6 inches. They've been given things for ancient keyword. So yeah, most of these, again, it's going over old changes as well, but it's not highlighted for new versus for old. Those are the two major things I noticed. And one thing they have done is they did update Federal Control still a model. Oh. Is they did update the legend rules. But they didn't do a very good job of updating the legend rules. This guy still does not have the Ultramarine keyword. So yes, any Space Marine army can take Ferrin Aeros. He doesn't have to be in an Ultramarine army if you don't want him to be. Yeah, so that's a thing. But they did update for me, you can tell, because frame. The frame keyword is here. If we also go down to... The land speeders are still there, by the way. All of the old land speeders have not gotten rid of them. which is a thing to note. And yeah, you can see it's got the fame keyword, if they gave it fame. Do the dreadnoughts get the fame keyword? No. Land speeder Tempest. If we go down to just find any sort of... here we go. Aircraft. Yeah, it's got the aircraft keyword still, but they've changed its movement to 14 inches, and they've allowed it to keep hover, but it's still 0 OC. So yeah, this is a bit weird. I think they wanted to get rid of the aircraft keyword. On that one, I've just forgot to remove the aircraft. What else is there? Land Raider. Rhino Primaris is not actually anything to do with Primaris Marines, by the way. It's just a command Rhino, basically. Go down. More aircraft. Ancient, apothecary, tech priest, librarians. Thunderhawk Transporter. Yeah, same as the Thunderhawk, we kind of forgot about this. Although they did actually remember to give a Thunderhawk Transporter a frame keyword. They forgot to remove its movement though. That's meant to be like a dash, same for its OC, it's meant to be a dash. They forgot to get rid of a hover keyword. Now they could be wanting to keep it with 20-inch movement and keep the hover keyword, but they've still got the aircraft keyword here. And if we go down even further, Sergeant Tellian, Captain, Vanguard Veterans, Ironclad Dreadnoughts, Assault Squad. Yeah, we've got a lot of legend units. Tyrannic War Veterans, Bike Squad, Attack Bike Squad. Land Speeder, Tornado, Typhoons. Yeah, they've now got rid of the Land Speeders, which is surprising because you can now just play older Land Speeders and say you're using the new Land Speeder for them. Yeah, even the Thunder Cannon has a frame keyword on it. Stalker, Land Speeder Storm, Kratos, Derideo Dreadnought, Relic Contemptor, Leviathan, Javelin, Attack Speeder. Did they give a drop pod frame? Yeah, they gave the Deathstorm drop pod frame, but they forgot to give a normal drop pod frame. That's something to take into account. Yeah, they've definitely forgotten about a lot of stuff here, but if we go down even further, Whirlwind, Vindicators, Dreadnoughts. There's a lot of... Oh, here we go. But look, Siphon Interceptor, they remembered to do properly. They gave it the aircraft keyword. They removed the hover key. Actually, I don't think it ever had the hover keyword, but they've changed the movement and the OC off. And Storm Eagle Gunship. This is a bit weird. The Storm Eagle gunship is literally just a longer Storm Raven. It's the same thing as a Storm Raven, basically. It's even got the same special rule here. It's got very similar stat. It's got just slightly different weapon options and it can transport more people. Yeah, they accidentally decided, you know what, to treat it differently from the Storm Raven. And instead of acting like a hover flyer, they kept the hover keyword. They forgot to get rid of that. But kept the aircraft keyword, removed its movement, removed its OC. Really, they should have changed its movement to 14, OC to 0, kept hover, removed aircraft. Fire Raptor gunship, this one makes more sense. But again, this one makes more sense to be using for aircraft rules since it can't transport anything. But again, they forgot to get rid of a hover keyword. So yeah, it's been a bit of a mess, some of these updates to the models and the datasheet. Oops, I closed that one, I shouldn't have. Well, then you've got the Black Templars over here. This one surprised me a little bit. So we've already seen these things. Wrathful Possession did get changed to this. Now this one is a bit weird. Because if we go down to Black Templars... Oh no, Wrathful Possession is one detachment point. Oh yeah, the other ones were all 2. The Wrathful Possession did lose a lot of its capabilities, but... You gain 5+ invulnerable save on any squad with a chaplain in. That's just as good really for 1 detachment point. For handing out cleave in some places. No major changes over here, other than adding the frame to their vehicles. Changing the teleport to Homer. Rewording some stuff. Oh, Castellan and Crusader Ancient both gained the support keyword, unsurprisingly. Emperor's Champion changed its rules slightly or something. But yeah, if I try scrolling down, I can't scroll down any further. Which is... If we go down to here, go down to Black Templars. And then I scroll down. Yeah, Crusader Squad. They've gotten rid of this Crusader Squad Legends again. Or they just forgot to add it in. So you got the Primaris Crusader Squad, and this is the old Crusader Squad for Firstborn, which had very different rules. Well, for how you can do your units. Organize them. So yeah, they either forgot to, because they did forget it originally. When they gave us a new codex and then gave it us back when they did the faction packs, and then they gave us new faction packs and forgot about it. But new stuff, we've not looked at them. I've not had a chance obviously to look at any of these, but give an itch. Let's look at the rules update more than anything else. Actually, we can go back. And we can go back again. And go download this. And I forgot, I accidentally clicked off them. Tyranids. So, more Daka, Rolling Death, Tactical Brigade. Everything else is 2 detachment points except Warhard, which is 3. Which is a bit weird. But we only get 3 that are 1 detachment point, because your normal game's going to have 3 detachment points available, so that means you're going to have to take Tactical Brigade with or more Daka or Rolling Death with whatever else taken if you don't go Warhard. What do? I do Dread mob at the moment. But let's look at the Tyranids. The Tyranids right here. So Invasion Fleet is unsurprisingly the only one at 3 detachment points. That's the one everyone pretty much goes for. It's like the go-to one. The only other one I see used after that is like Crusher Stampede. I've seen others get used, but it's mostly either Invasion Fleet or Crusher Stampede. But everything else is pretty much 2 except for these things. Which makes sense. But let's check how the new... So we've already had a chance to look at these things when they announced them. Subterranean Assault doesn't look like it changed too much. Hi Paladin STEM, we're looking at the new stuff of the Tyranids, well for the Xenos. We just looked at the Space Marines. Abaddon. Oh yeah, that's a flying one, isn't it? So how did they do this? They gave it the frame keyword. They removed the... Okay, so the Harridan is just now a flying coffer feature. So remember to update the Harridan for them. What about Harridan? Does that have a... Yeah, it has a frame keyword too. Lots of new stuff is true. So let's look. Anything major changes? So Shadow of a Warp, is that still the same as before? I'll be surprised if it is exactly the same. If your army factors Tyranids, once per battle in either player's command phase, if one or more of your units have visibility on the battlefield, you can release Shadow of a Warp. When you do, each unit on the battlefield must take a battle shock test. Each enemy unit, sorry. No, Shadow of a Warp's unchanged. That's still going to be insane. Hi, Briar. How you doing? 6969. It's 69. Oh, wait, is it 69? No, it's 96 today. How British do our times? It's 96 today. Oh, 69 isn't for another 3 months. Briar has won 20,000 resorts. Oh my gosh. Bye-bye, Briar. Thanks for popping in. Okay, so sign-up seems very similar to before, if it's changed at all. One model in that unit gains D3 plus 1 lost wounds, a simulation swarm. Yeah, nothing looks like it's changed massively. Bioforce, now seed at 8 inches, not 9 inches. 8 inches, not 9 inches for hypersensitive stuff as well. Yeah, none of these seem to have changed a massive amount. Rude Lord, Parasited Mortrex gets sign-ups. Wait, did Parasited Mortrex have sign-ups before? Can't remember if it did. Exocrine ranged weapons changed to strength 9. Yeah, that was already there. Surge move, just rewording surge. Spore mines, Vanguard Invader, sign-up, Harvester. Run effect, yeah, that's not changed. Trying to see if anything's like gained for fame keyword. Yeah, so nothing seems to be massively changed. Oh, they did change the wording for how this type of stuff works. Yeah, for command points and stuff. Yeah, I had sign-ups, which made it weird. It didn't have lead on gargoyles. When I had lone operative, so you could always just have it fly around with gargoyles, which is arguably better. Because that way, when someone does shoot at it, especially with precision weapons and stuff, it's not using the gargoyle toughness, it's using its own. Hi, Tony. How you doing? But yeah, so nothing massively different seems to be here. I mean, if you do notice something massively different, just tell me. Dimericon here has the fame keyword. Sky Slasher Swarms. Oh, wait. Let's look, actually. Harpies and the other creature. Can we find the harpies and stuff here? That's important to know. Okay, Harpy and Hive Clone. Remove Hoffer, change the profile. How does it work then? How does a harp? Because doesn't they one of them have the ability to drop bombs when it moves? How does it do that thing? Did they change that? Yeah, Harpy and Hive Clone right here. Right, let's look up for Harpy and Hive Clone for a moment. Tyranids. I don't have one of them, so I'm gonna have to go here. Is it for Hive Clone? No. Must be for Harpy. Each time this model ends a normal move, you can do one of the following. Select one enemy unit it moved over. Yeah, you can't exactly do that when it can't move over things anymore. Yeah, it's a Harpy. And add a new spar mine unit within D3 inches. Because it can't move over the enemy. It has to drop as close to the edge of the board as it possibly can. Oh, if they didn't give it the frame keyword. Oh, here we go. So there we go. Heartbeat Spore Mine Stability. I should have just used the Control F Heartbeat. There we go. Select one visible enemy unit, excluding load operative, within 24 inches of this unit, and rolls 66 for each V plus it suffers a mortal wound. So it's basically the same thing, except now it can just choose 24 inches away. That's actually so much more powerful. Arguably, you could just put it on anywhere on the board and go, hey, that unit there, yeah, it's getting exploded. Hive Clone can't use melee anymore. That's important to note, I guess. And it can if something charges it, but it can't charge anything. Let's look at the Hive Clone then. Yeah, it has to be within 6 inches of a model still. And more than 8 inches away from the enemies. So, Hive Clone. Oops. Yeah, there's only one mention of Clone. So if we look at the Hive Clone, I mean, it's still got its drill cannon. It's still got its stinger salvos. It's still got its tentacles. Yeah, the Hive Clone really should have just been changed into a hover mode creature. I feel like, rather than keeping it as an aircraft. I mean, it doesn't have exactly an amazing melee capability, but yeah, it can't charge anything. Aircraft can't do charges. I mean, they can fight if they do get charged. Yeah, we're gonna have to update that. Some of the changes don't seem super well thought out and seem to be done in a rush. Like we could tell for Space Marines, of just so much of it missing. Which I can hardly blame with the Space Marines. It'll probably take them days just to go through it all. Faction pack art. Let's look at them next then. So if we look at their points cost, it's same. Let's look. We've already seen the main thing. Speed, well, yeah, most of the data sheets for old ones that weren't inside the... Not data sheets, these things. Detachments that weren't inside the, you know, faction overlook seem to be unchanged. Or at least mostly unchanged. They've added the new characters here. Which we've already seen the data sheets for them. It's very possible, again, these are still just for combat patrol versions. Yeah, because it can't be added. But we do know it can be added to raw bike units because they said so when they were announcing it. So we'll scroll down, and let's look. The boss is watching detachment rules, so nothing here seems to be changed too much. There's probably people who know for Arc detachments better than I might be able to see some changes. Yeah. A lot of it just seems to be rewording. Yeah, the Red Mob detachment now goes off on a 103 instead of a 102, because it used to be a 102. Because they have the ability to make the hazardous weapons super hazardous. Now, actually, that's kind of better than it was before. Because it's going from... It used to go from a 1 in 6 chance to a 1 in 3 chance. Which is like doubling your chance of failing your hazard test. Now it's going from 1 in 3 to 1 in 2. Which... you know, it's actually not as big of a leap. Like, you are still more likely to fail your hazard roll, but it's not as big of a deterrent as it was before in terms of, like, making your hazards twice as likely. Now it's only 50% more likely. Wait, is it even 50%? Yeah, 50%. Until the end phase, add 1 to the charge rolls, and if your unit contains 10 or more models, you can reroll that charge. Now, a lot of this stuff seems kind of normal. Changing the things, adding frame to a bunch of units. Blitz bombers, get rid of the OC and movement. Ooh, the bombers. We're gonna have to figure out how they change. Shock booster, beast boss. Yeah, a lot of this is just changing wording of stuff. Okay, here we go. Burner bomber ability. At the end of your opponent's fight phase, you can select 1 visible enemy unit within 24 inches. Okay, so it looks like any of the bomber abilities are kind of getting a bit stronger, because now it's just 24 inches straight up. Which, I mean, they could already move like 40 inches, but considering they could only like pivot to a certain amount each turn, it did significantly reduce how effective your bombing runs could be. Each time this model ends a charge move, select 1 enemy unit with an engagement range. Yeah, that's pretty much normal-ish. Prophet of the Great Wall, lethal hit. I think that was already AP -2. Where's my orc? So monster. Hillwig, yeah, -2. Unterwig, -2. Sneaky gets ability, snap shooting. Yep, change that to snap shooting. Mega Knobs, pumpkin time ability. I guess anything that ignored Overwatch is now even stronger, since most units that could like shoot you out of sync would now be using snap shooting. Yeah, a lot of this all seems pretty core abilities, remove this section. Support section, remove this section. Okay. War Trap. Weird Boy Jump. Sodgrod. I've already got the legends. We won't go over all of the legends. Audari. How are they? 1 detachment point, 1 detachment point, Twilight Flickers. Oh yeah, they had 4 of them. What's a feed? Warhost is 3 detachment points. That was like the one everyone went with anyway. Then you got Aspect Host, also 3 detachment points. I guess that makes sense. But I wouldn't say they're so powerful to be worth that. Yeah, they didn't seem to change any of the other detachments much. What the heck's happening to my... I'm trying to scroll down! Stop it! That was weird. Vipers. Okay, that didn't change. Change this, change this. Okay, how do their planes change? That's what I want to know. Let's look up their planes. Warlock Conclave, Corsairs. I can't remember what the K frames. Crimson Hunter and Hemlock Ray fight to gain Feign and remove a movement to no scene. Okay, makes sense. Yeah, that's just normal stuff. Yeah, it doesn't seem that there's been any major changes. Like, people were expecting, like, major changes to the Battle Shock rules. Like, you know, Shadow of the Warp to potentially get changed. But it seems to be pretty normal. Wait, did the Battle Shock get changed? Or for Shadow of the Warp? I now need to look up Shadow of the Warp. Yeah, it's only if you're in range of a sign-up creature you get for -1. Yeah, I'm not seeing any major changes here from just a quick glance over it. Yeah, it's normal. Yeah, remove leader, add support to some other things like for Warlock. But that now means you can add a Warlock to... That means you can have a Warlock join other units. Other characters. It doesn't have to just join a force here. That's interesting. Ooh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Warlock Conclave. They lose a character keyword. Let's put Conclave in. Let's see if they gain support. Farseer can join Warlock Conclave. Guardian Defenders. Conclave just removes character. Yeah, okay. Yeah, they just changed the wording to make it work with the other things now. So the Warlock Conclave is going to be more powerful now. I don't know for Drukhari well enough to really go over what happened with them. Ooh, Necrons also got updated. Ooh. What do they have? Awakened Dynasty. Again, it seems to be the default ones. Oh no, Canoptic Carts, 3 detachment points. No! Okay, no, they've definitely got a few 3 detachment point ones. Awakened Dynasty is like the default one you take. Canoptic Cart is the one you want to take if you're doing Canoptic. And Star Shatter Arsenal is... That's the Catan one, right? Unfortunately, outside of the Tyranids, none of the Xenos have any of the interesting aircraft, do they? Like the ones that can transport or the ones that can... do melee properly. Oh, actually, this might be interesting looking at the croissants. How do the croissants, especially the transport one, work? Because I believe the transport one... Yeah, the entire thing was basically just dropping it into the middle of the enemy and then dropping a bunch of troops there. Oh my gosh, this is a lot of rules. But here we go. Night Scythe. Oh, Night Scythe's just become hover. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, it makes sense. If it looks like all of the transporting aircraft are being changed to hover aircraft, if I remember it. And 14 inches is becoming the default for them. Hover flyers. Yeah, not a lot changing here. Ooh, here we go. think this can be given to a canoptic unit as well for devastating wounds. Oh no, it's a stratagem, never mind. So yeah, that's not changed much. Being crazy. Everything's basically we can give them fame. None of the Catan though. Doom Scythe is the one that's just acting as a normal aircraft now. It couldn't hover before, I think. But unit embarked within this transport in a turn, it disembarked this transport. Okay, that's interesting. Add deep strike. Oh, Night Scythe's getting deep strike keyword. That's interesting. Okay, yeah, it seems pretty basic. A heavy construct didn't gain the frame keyword, surprisingly. It should have a frame keyword because I don't think it has a base it can go on. Unless it's a monster? No, it's a vehicle. Because Pylon also wasn't given the frame keyword. They forgot to go through the legends. Oh no, the Sentry Pylon has a frame keyword. Maybe that's because it's a fortification, so it doesn't need frame keyword. Where's this one? No, the Sentry Pylon's also fortification. Yeah, for forgetting to give things a frame keyword. Night Shroud gained fame. Yep. What else do we have here? Leagues of Photon. So half band is a free detachment point. Again, that's the default one you go for. What about the mercenary one? Mercenary oath band. Only 2 detachment points.
How's my favorite girl?
How you doing, Native Engine? I'm doing okay. We're looking at the new stuff for the different faction packs that have released for 11th edition. We don't know the points for stuff yet, but Armored Trailblazers. Again, we saw all of this when we went over from earlier. They don't have flyers, so I'm not expecting any great deal of changes here. Yeah, if they just change a few wordings here and there. Add frame to a couple of vehicles. For ones that don't have bases. Again, 9 inches to 8 inches is a very common change you're doing. Yeah, it seems pretty normal. Not much change there. Gene Stealers, I doubt they've got much change. What was there? 3 detachment point 1. Host of Ascension. Is 3 detachment. Was that the basic one people went with? I don't feel like Host of Ascension was the default one people went with. I guess because you got Final Day, Brood Buffer. No, maybe it was the one people went with as the default. Host of Ascension is the index one. I know some of the index ones, some of the ones that came with a faction pack became like the default one that people would go for. Yeah. Final Day. Oh, Final Day is like the codex. Surprising. I don't know if this has changed. Yeah, so that is again for default for them. Cult ambush markers. Yeah, they've changed it to 8 inches or whatever. Gives ignore, cuff, and sustained hits. Okay, yeah, so that is the one people liked going with. Because you had like people using neophyte squads just to wipe out Bane Blades in a single shooting phase. So 3 detachment point makes sense. Yep, definitely makes sense. Not seeing huge changes here. Cloaked Assassin's ability. Yeah. Okay, what about the Tau then? Have a Tau down here. They've got Vermont Car. People loved Vermont Car 1. Experimental prototype changed massively. We already went over that one, sadly. Everything else is only 2 detachment points. Retaliation Cadver. Let's look at how fair flyers are being handled then. And if there's any major changes that need to be done. Again, I doubt there's a lot of major changes being done then. Okay, actually we got the Tiger Shark right here. They did remember to give it the frame keyword. And to do everything here to it. The Manta... here we go. Manta has some rules. It's got both the hover keyword and the aircraft keyword. Its OC is still a dash. Its movement is now 40 inches, which makes me think that they accidentally left the aircraft keyword in here. Either that or these things might be purposeful if there's going to be an update to the core rules, because we do know there's going to be a day 1 Invector and for some major changes there. I have not seen that day 1 Invector. But if they do have an ability where aircraft that do have a movement characteristic can still make a move somehow, then I guess it would make sense for some of these things. But I don't think so. I think it's just literally from forgetting to remove the aircraft. Because 40 inches is an update. Before, it would have only ever said 20 inches plus. I imagine. Actually, we can check over here if it did say 40 inches originally. Or if it just forgot it existed. Like with the Thunderhawk. Actually, I could probably just go into the other faction pack. Yeah, 20 plus inches. So yeah, it does look like that they meant to get rid of the aircraft keyword. Add frame to pretty much all of the vehicles and their fortifications. Not seeing any major changes here. Missy word of the day, shanked.
Misery word of the day, shanked. G-dubs shanked Tau's already limited detachments by instead of making new 1DP detachments, nerfed 2 of.
Yeah, it is a bit weird that they decided to... Like, for some things out here that have so many detachments, it seems really weird. Leaguers of Photon get loads of detachments. Eldari get 4. I think the Eldari got 4 new detachments. So it's like... the tower just like, nah, let's get rid of 2 of the good ones, like the experimental prototype, auxiliary cadver. It could be purposeful to represent the kind of inflexibility of the Tau, where they are very doctrine focused, except then for Ultramarines, they're very limited by the Codex. They should have very little detachment options. So yeah, but it looks like most of the changes are normal. Oh yeah, where about the flyers? Razor, Strike Fighter, Shark Bomber, Fame. Can we see anything? Did anything lose for aircraft keyword? No. Nothing lost for aircraft keyword. The Manta looks like it should have lost for aircraft keyword if it just forgot to remove aircraft. Someone up there hates them. Auxiliary CAD is my favourite detachment, and the Tau is the adaptable faction. Kind of, but if you actually look at like how the Tau organize themselves, they very much do focus on the elite. While the Tau kind of adaptable in terms of like they're constantly adapting for technology and stuff. Ever since the founding of their 3 major tactics, they've kind of been like every single Tau commander kind of is limited to them, with some Tau commanders just doing one tactic every single time. In Lore, you got the Kion from Montcar and the... Wait, what's the third one? Because they have 3 things. You got the Killing Blow, for something else, and for something else. I forget the words of them. Yeah, Killing Blow is a Montcar. The Patient Hunter, but then there's a third one. It's not here. Am I getting confused? Is it literally just for 2? Kion and Montcar. Yeah, maybe it is. There's only 2. Oh, okay, I got confused. So yeah. It is a bit weird that they're so limited though. Oops. That kind of broke. Yeah, I don't understand it. Like, you got Gene Stealer cults and Necrons and Leaguers of Photon with so many different things. I mean, the Gene Stealer cults don't have a huge amount, but... The Tau aren't the only ones that also lost 2 detachments and just had them changed. More Daka and Tactical Brigade were already 2 detachments that the Orcs had. I love both the Tactical Brigade and more Daka. But now you can combine more Daka with Dreadmob, which is nice. Or Tactical Brigade and Dreadmob. Dreadmob is the one I mostly use. So I'm kind of happy to see this. I don't know how I'm going to do my Tau, because my Tau were... My Tau experimental replica Tau. I don't really like anything else that they have, any of the detachments. I don't like Montcar at all. I don't like Kion. Retaliation Cadre is like a battlesuit detachment. And I've only got 1 set of battlesuits. Well, I mean, I've got the Ghost Kills and Riptides, the Storm Surge and the Broadsides. Okay, there's a bunch of battlesuits. But it's, yeah. I really don't like these things where it's 3rd, 4th and 5th battle rounds. I don't care about that. Montcar, doing 1st, 2nd and 3rd, but I don't want to care about keeping count of battle rounds. I just want my +6-inch range to all of my models. That's all I care about. I wanted the range. Auxiliary Cadre, yeah, I've got 1 set of Vespid Stingwings. That's got to be really useful. Fruit hunting pack, got no fruit. I guess I can just do all of these 3 together. I can keep my experimental rep prototype cadver for my +6-inch range on my battle suit. I can do the auxiliary cadver for my Thespids, and I can do the advanced acquisition cadver for... Let's look at the towel. Where's the rest of their stuff? Let's look at the attachments because I forgot what the requisition one does at all. Yeah, for new experimental weapon cadver, battlesuit. Oh yeah, it's only battlesuit commander unit. Oh, it's so awful. Punch. Sorry, I punched my screen. Just imagine the Megamind mem here. No Croots. No Croots. No Croot hounds. Oh, I hate this. This is the worst thing that's ever happened to me. I guess I can just take this though, have my fusion blasters still have +6-inch range, and then take this experimental, I mean, not an experimental, enhancement, I guess. Wait! Those jerks. Those jerks! Those jerks! I just realised I never noticed before because they didn't show for 3 enhancements you could get. Here's my Code Star Commander. Do you know what enhancement he has? It's called Fusion Blades. It's called Fusion Blades. Where's my Fusion Blades, Games Workshop? Where's my Fusion Blades? I built my character to be Fusion. I was so excited for I've never even had a chance to play Mattel. No! And what else? Okay, I can have a supernova launcher. I don't have a supernova launcher on my model. I don't have the, or what is it called? For airbus. I don't have the airbus on my model. What about the plasma accelerator? I don't have a plasma rifle on my model. Okay, what about for flamethrower? I don't have a flamethrower on my model. I have a fusion blaster. I mean, you can already use your fusion rifles in melee. You just shoot them in the shooting phase because you got the vehicle keyword, meaning you got big guns and a tire.
Capcom to her Cold Star Commander after knowing that the melter blades are gone. I don't want to play with you anymore.
No. I'm going to write a strongly worded letter to Games Workshop. Okay, what about the auxiliary cadre? What's this? Bunny have this ability. While a unit is prey marked, in your shooting phase, after this unit is selected, one visible enemy unit within 12-inch. Gives it +3-inch detection range. Oh yeah, they have to be near ghosts. I mean, that's not bad. I've got 1 unit of Thespids. And I do have 2 units of battle suits and 2 ghost skills in the army. Again, trying to be within 6 inches of them will be difficult if they also want to be within 12 inches of the enemy. It kind of goes counterintuitive. It's like you bring up your Thespid Stingwings up front so that you can get plus detection range so you can shoot them from further away with your other units. And it's but your other units have to be within 6 inches of the Thespids to begin with. Well, I guess detection range is 15 inches. Meaning if your unit's within 18 inches of the enemy, and your Vespids are within 12 inches of the enemy, and then your Vespids are within 6 inches of your Ghost Kill or Stealth Shoot, your Ghost Kill or Stealth Shoot will now be able to detect the enemy, and your guys will still get the hidden keyword. Although again, you want them to be close to the enemy, meaning they're within 12 inches of the enemy, meaning that they're going to be detected anyway. Like, what's the point? I guess it's for the early game, but again, Fruit and Vespid Stingwings are more anti-infantry than they are anti-tank or anti-anything else, and the infantry of things going to be hidden. So in the early game, you're not going to be able to shoot your enemy infantry with your Vespid and Kroot because they're too far away. Oh. Yeah, it does feel a bit weird. I don't like it. Fruit Shaper. That sucks. Yeah, I don't like Auxiliary Coddle very much at all. I guess it's more of an either or then. Either they're within range to get the hidden capabilities, or they're within range to give you support. You're not meant to be trying to achieve both of these at the same time, I guess. Well, I mean, I guess actually it would be fine because they would still be hidden from other enemy units, just not the ones that are too close to them. Maybe. I don't know. Okay, Advanced Acquisition Cadwer. This is Pathfinder and Stealth Shoots. Not Ghost Kills, though. They're not prevented from being hidden. Although Stealth Suits have very short range as well. Although they do have minus detection range, you can give them. Yeah, I guess if I combined all three of these, I would go. Okay, so with this one, my Crisis Sunforce Battle Suits, and well, I've not finished the army. I don't have my second Ghost Kill. I don't have a Riptide yet. I don't have a Storm. I do want to get both of them just so I can build them on stream and look at them together. Because they're cool. I don't have my second unit of battle suits, stealth suits yet. But then my Reacher team inside the Devilfish isn't getting any bonuses. And nor is my Riptide or my Storm Surge if I go for these 3 detachments at the same time. Yeah, the Tau got really screwed over by the start of this. Like, it's they've had their detachment choice limited even more, and the detachments don't seem to work very well together. And the detachments even then kind of seem screwy. Like, if you're taking experimental weapon prototype of a plus 6-inch range, you're most likely getting it so you can have your fusion weapons doing more damage. So having it screw you over by not allowing you to take fusion blades anymore. Like, I know plenty of people who have Cold Star commanders that are just, like, here we go. Yeah, you can have 4 fusion blasters. I know plenty of people who have 4 fusion blasters on their Cold Star commanders. And, you know, they take the fusion blades upgrade. And they've got 1 fusion blade, 3 fusion blasters, and now they can't take any enhancements. Breaches are the only way to run without the Devilfish. Yeah. Experimental weapon breaches were also cool. Yeah, this just seems screwed over. How just...
There will be no lore this stream. You have been all duped. Your rescheduled stream is Capcom dismantling her wall 1 punch at a time.
No, dismantling my screen, apparently. I punched my screen. It's my cheap screen. I don't have to worry about that. We use Space Raiders. Yeah, even the Dark Elder did not get screwed over as much. Okay, the Dark Elder are the only ones who've not looked over. Oh. Yeah, the rest of them are pretty much fine. There's barely any decent changes to go over with them. But the Dark Elder, the others. Yeah, so they've got a nice range of detachments. Their new detachments is, one of them is for basically homunculi armies. One of them is for if you're taking any Kabbalites. And this is really good actually. Because one of the issues you did face with Dark Eldar is, let's say you just want one unit of witches, but you want to otherwise go Kabbalites. Or let's say you want some witches, you want some Kabbalites, you want some of the big monsters, some for homunculi. You ended up always having at least one of the units not getting a lot of advantage on your detachments. Now, if you got just a bit of everything, you can just go with these 3 1 detachment point ones, which is cool. And none of them are exactly bad, I feel like. They do work well with what they've got. Blades of the Cabal get sustained hits against non-monsters and vehicles. Witch cults get lethal hits against non-monsters and vehicles. Cronus and Talos have -1 to wound if you're using a strength greater than for toughness. Reaper's Rager. So wait, what's their detachment points though? Reaper's Rager, 3 detachment points. Real Space Raiders, I feel like was their more defaulty one. I thought they said trolling players, which is, you know, very on par with Harlequin's trolling. So yeah, just rewording to surge move. Razor Ring and Void Raven obviously have that change. Aliens, hi Flash. Void Raven Mine Bomber, 24-inch range on it again. So yeah, Dark Elders seem pretty fine. Most of them seem pretty fine. There's not too much change. The bombers seem like they might be a lot better to take than before. Now the fact that each turn you can basically just choose one unit of all your enemies' units unless you're on a massive board. To get mortal wounds, which is pretty fun actually. Bunch of the armies have their hover things getting returned to them as not aircraft. Let me check one thing. Like with a Manta, I didn't miss something. Like maybe they can choose to be aircraft or moving. Like I didn't check the special rules to see if they got an updated special rule. No, they didn't get updated special rules. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if some aircraft had the ability to play them as hover flyers or as aircraft still. So I was thinking maybe the Manta got a rule, that's why it kept the aircraft keyword. But no, it didn't get a new rule to do that with. This model has a transport capacity for 4. Bounty can just transport, is hilarious. But yeah, the Tau really screwed over by the new faction packs. Like, why? Did literally just someone hate Tau? Like experimental web. I see why they got rid of fusion blades. They probably saw fusion blades as just too powerful. Like, getting +6 inches and fusion blades to 1 detachment point probably seemed like, yeah, let's not do that. But then it's like, why would I even take this thing? I mean, I guess the flamethrowers also benefit from it, but not really. How the Tau were using crisis battle suits were literally just deep striking them next to the enemy and then just blasting them. I have experimental weapon cadre, yeah, for plus 6 inches on those fusion weapons. Really useful. Although it's actually less useful now that you can deep strike 8 inches away, meaning that it's easier to be within half-inch range. It's like, oh, they really just screwed over the Tau here. Maybe that's why they said, hey, you know, for Tau, actually no, because the new edition kind of buffs melee quite a bit. I mean, shooting is also pretty powerful with some of the crazy stuff you can do now. But yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm like focusing on this so much. Yeah, I feel like we're gonna have to get a day one update to the rules though, because there's definitely some things that like the Manta for Thunderhawk. I'm hoping they also decide to go through all of the legends. One of the things I was disappointed with the legends as well is how they didn't update any of the old legend models with new weapon options that are available for them, like especially the Horus Heresy ones. Which I was really hoping for. I was really hoping that they'll give us some start of edition legend support, which they kind of did, but not really. They left a bunch of issues there still. But we got the magazines. And that's what we're on to today. And here we go. What we really came here for. Let me move these looters out of the way. Magazines. I did read something recently about how to stop these magazines tearing. But we got half of a jackal set. Oh, no bases in here. We have to wait for bases. Yeah, apparently if you open them from this angle, it stops them ripping. Which makes sense. Because the punch goes that way. Ooh. Tau! Are those Tempestus Aquinium? They look like Tempestus. No. They're just normal Tempestus? Maybe? I don't know. Look at Tau though. Poor Tau. This is what Games Workshop's doing to the Tau in 11th edition. This is how it feels to be a Tau player. Oh no. Oh no, who knew that the Lord today was literally just going to be the Tau getting screwed over? Yeah, so this is how you stop the pages getting ripped, apparently. We are being executed. True. Oh, see, it ripped still. The first page. So how to build your jackals. Oh, let's turn that light off. Cause, oh, wait, the light is on. Oops. The light wasn't on. Okay, Shattered Legion. We got some World Eater lore here. Look, it got cool fangs. Are you sure he's a World Eater and not one of those Blood Angels? Looks a bit Blood Angel-y, he does. Give him blonde hair, remove that cross. Make her a bit more handsome. I mean, he could actually have originally been a Blood Angel. Lost to the Blood Rage. That also sounds like a Blood Angel. Can't Berserkers fall upon the foe in mundane. So I've been Murderous Delight, not Mundane Delight. I thought it would be pretty mundane for them. So I've been listening to the Dante book and to the... I've also recently listened to Sanguinius, so Blood Angels are very much in my mind at the moment. Which Blood Angel should always be on your mind. I kind of want to make a Blood Angel army now. Thousands of years ago, the 12th Legion, of the Space Marines were known as the Warhounds. Where's my knife? My knife. That's a brush. Knife to meet you. the Warhounds. They fought during the Great Crusade, and their Primarch Angron was restored to them. The transformation to the World Eaters, their fall to chaos, and the shattering of the Legion is a story of anguish, woe, and betrayal. Every like of this stream is another piece of woe and betrayal for the World Eaters. It's another butcher's nail in a berserker's head. Every like in this stream, yuck! During the Great Crusade, the lost Primarch of the 12th Legion, Angron, was discovered leading a revolt of interned gladiators. To be honest, you can just remove that word and it will still mean the exact same thing. The Emperor, unwilling to delay the crusade, kidnapped him and placed him in charge of the 12th Legion. Enraged, Angron initially rejected his new legion, but eventually took charge and renamed them the World Eaters. Seeking to become close to their new leader, the World Eaters implanted torture devices called Butcher's Nails in themselves, the same device Angron had received during his time as a gladiator. These induced a blood rage and diluted the senses. When the heresy began, Angron quickly turned on the Emperor and the Legion fell to chaos. The heresy failed. I need a drink. The heresy failed and the World Eaters fled into the Eye of Terror. Seeking to unite the Legion once more, their new leader, Khan, directed an assault on the planet of Skylarfax. There he succumbed to the Butcher's Nails, going on a unaliving rampage and unaliving many of his comrades. The attempt to unify the World Eaters failed, and they splintered into fractured warbands. Khan the Betrayer. Khan the Betrayer was the 8th captain of the Warhounds. When Angron was restored to the Legion, Khan became his second in command. He perhaps resisted the Butcher's Nails for the longest, retaining some sense of planning and tactics. After taking charge of the Legion, Khan's falls to the Nails saw him turn on his fellows and earn the title the Betrayer. Cassal's Desecrators. Cassal. That sounds like Carsal, sorry. Sounds like a Chaos Dwarf. Housemiths of Ashuk. Carsal's Desecrators are a warband that serves under the leadership of the Demon Prince, Carsal. It's Carl! Who became deeply involved in the Black Crusade of Abaddon the Despoiler, carving a bloody path across the worlds of a Nakmund Gauntlet. They have a fast following and are accompanied into battle by thousands of deranged cultists. I think they suffered a series of major defeats. The warband is equipped with a vast array of void ships and has a reputation for attacking without warning, descending on entire worlds and prosecuting their bloody wars without restraint or mercy. I like how Carsal doesn't even have a picture. The School Takers. Wait, the School Taker doesn't have a picture. I'm pretty sure they've done many art of School Taker in the past. Although I'm guessing it's not a School Taker for Demon here. The School Takers are one of the many fractured warbands that formed after the shattering of the World Eaters. Their armour is a deep crimson, buffed to a high shine, with a compound made from powdered bones of their enemies. The better to strike fear into the hearts and minds of their enemies. Like many of the warbands that formed, they are influenced by both Khan and by the Butcher's Nails, swinging like a pendulum between these two courts of madness. They have blazed a trail of death and mayhem across the galaxy, wanting a little more than the chance to take skulls and spill blood in the name of their master, and the chance to feel the exhilaration of combat once more. Is that Fashtar? It is Fashtar the Archiflame. I've been reading about him in the Archmage's book. He's interesting. He seems like he's a big old know-it-all and he's like impervious and the best and then he fails. On Abaddon's ship, the Fendra's Spirit, a ritual gone awry summoned forth the great demigod Fashtar, the ruler of the Soul Forges. That's where, a lot of the soul crushers, not soul crushers. Wait, are they called soul crushers? The other demons defilers. Hi, Native Engine.
I'm going to get pizza tomorrow.
Oh, pizza! I was thinking about maybe risking ordering a pizza yesterday, but then I never did so and just made pasta for myself. What type of pizza? Meat lovers. Sausage. Pepperoni. Yeah. Upon its survival, the ship began to mutate and tear itself apart. But all was not lost. Vashtar offered Abaddon a bargain that gave him the chance to gain a great weapon of fate-changing power. Soul grinders, that's the one. Yeah, he makes soul grinders at the Soul Forge, and often he has demons in his debt from like the different Chaos gods, and they get in his debt because they're like, can I become a soul grinder? It's like, of course you can. Even if you're just a tiny pathetic demon, you can get turned into a soul grinder. They're like, yeah, although now you owe me a bunch of souls. As Abaddon's ship groaned under the force of dire chaotic energies. So in many regards, he's basically like, you know, a narcotics dealer for the demons. Just constantly getting them into ever more debt until they're completely so indebted to him that they have to do anything he asks of them. Vashtar the Archiflame was brought forth, a great demigod and the Soul Forge King, far more power than any mere demon. Oh yeah, so what happens is like he turns someone into a soul grinder, and they now offer him a bunch of souls, and to make sure, you know, they never get to pay off that debt, he just throws them into devastatingly bad battles, you know, ones they're definitely not going to survive. And that way, their body gets destroyed, they have to come back to him to get a new soul grinder body. And to get a new body, they go into further debt. Did you know that even demons can't avoid credit debt? You just got these demons with Vashtar marked credit cards. Oh gosh, that's stupid. Supreme Pizza. What's a Supreme Pizza?
Of course you can become a soul grinder. It will cost you though, a small loan of 1,000,000 souls. And every time you die, 1,000,000 souls.
Yeah, because once they die and they get killed as a soul grinder, their soul goes back to the warp, but the rest of the soul grinder body, no. And what they have is, you know, all of the flesh isn't actually the demon itself. Apparently there's like an egg inside it that's like metal. And the demon is actually just a tiny little demon encased inside this metal egg. And then you've got the frame of the legs and the claws built around it. And then, with a ritual, the demon grows from all the flesh and stuff. It actually doesn't come from the demon. It comes from a bunch of sacrifices to the demon to give it a fleshy body. And then once it has a fleshy body and it dies, well, when it goes back to warp, it's still just a tiny little demon. And now it needs a new soul grinder body. Because it gets addicted to the power of being a soul grinder. And then once it's addicted to the power of being a soul grinder, and any soul it collects goes back to Vashtar, effectively it means that the demon stays weak. Because, like, if it was, like, weak demons can become strong demons by harvesting energies, by stealing souls, and, like, becoming a servant of a bigger demon, or, do you know, to some significantly powerful warrior or whatever, can mean that you can gain more power for yourself, which is why demons will like, especially weaker demons, will often let people like cultists and chaos marines and stuff summon them and like bind them for power, because, well, when they don't have a lot of a choice sometimes because they're weak demons. But if they can make a deal, they can effectively harvest souls and energy, making themselves a much stronger demon. But if they're constantly in debt to someone like Vashtar, They can't increase the only way that they can increase their power is by becoming a soul grinder, and that's only lasts as long as the body lasts. And then, if you're doing too well as a soul grinder and you get a bit too big for your boots, and you know you get thrown into these terrible battles that you can't survive, and you keep surviving, yeah, he'll just stop using you. And because you're now just not like. You just sat there basically in a soul grinder parking lot just waiting to get sent into battle, and you never sent into battle. And since you never sent into battle, you can never pay off your soul debt. Until eventually he gets a battle where he's like, you know that one soul grinder who, yeah, like, you'll never die? Well, we might need them for this one. If they die, great. We can put them back into debt again. If they don't die, then it doesn't matter if they successfully pay off the debt, because the gains that we will gain from here is better than them staying in our debt. Supreme means everything. Everything! So it's like mounted high like a mountain on top of your pizza. They put the table on your pizza. They don't put your pizza on the table. They put your They put your table on your pizza. Okay, he offered Abaddon a mighty weapon in exchange for his help in gathering numerous lost artifacts. With these, Vashtar planned to create the key, which would allow him to ascend to godhood. With Abaddon's agreement secured, Vashtar provided the Chaos Warlord with a fleet of fast warp ships that became known as the Arks of Omen. Abaddon gifted one ark to each of his warlords, and they drafted great battle fleets. Oh, Bale fleets. Oh gosh, right, I've got a box I need to move out of the way. I can move my microphone. There we go. We set out to find various artifacts that Vashtar was seeking, and the galaxy was set to flame by their unaliving campaign. While most Chaos ships drifted of the tides of warp, the Arks of Omen could be piloted, and the devastation that was wrought to the galaxy was unprecedented. As worlds fell before them, Abaddon's warriors managed to recover the first artifact. Hasn't some of the arcs already been lost? With the arrival of the great Bale fleets in real space, all manner of ships find themselves in a great peril. Oh, that's the kill team from Inquisitors. Oh no, is that the Rogue Trader one actually? All manner of ships find themselves in great peril. Battles of the cramped confines of spaceships intensify as Abaddon's forces board all in sight. As suspicion arises, other factions become increasingly defensive, leading to wider conflict throughout the galaxy. Ooh, it's one of those craft. They don't make them anymore. They could make them in plastic, mind you, the ramming craft. I really want them to bring the ramming craft into plastic because it's one of the coolest aircraft I've ever made. The Space Marines. War on a new scale. In the vast emptiness of space, entire fleets can be lost in the darkness between planets. With the arrival of the Bale fleets, real space was teeming with aggressive craft and space lanes that were once practically empty became fraught with peril. As time wore on, the fighting intensified and all factions prepared to engage in and to resist the hostile boarding actions. Oh, so this is how the boarding action, this was the setup for boarding actions, I guess. Because I never knew this. I've heard of the different arcs, like especially the Arc of Omen, but I didn't know about the Bale fleets, and that's probably why we got the initial boarding action setting, isn't it? Mausoleums of the Void, crews became fearful and vigilant, ready to respond to any threat with a craft that once offered a safe haven. Insulated from the emptiness of the void outside, now often became their tomb. Relentless fighting harried the crafts of all factions. Of unprecedented aggression, speed of the Chaos forces, death could strike at any moment. Okay, for greater good. We're learning about the Tau finally in these books. Magazines. Oh, who is this person? Horel Kamdar. A high-ranking member of the Tau's Ward caste, Kamdar conducted many diplomatic missions to alien worlds outside of the Empire. He is perhaps most celebrated for his activities for the human world of Janus, where he contacted dissidents who opposed the brutal regime of the Imperial Man, supporting their insurrection and encouraging them to secede from the Imperium. With the inevitable Imperial retaliation occurred, the newly formed Jansenary Senate was forced to turn to the Tau for military aid, becoming a protectorate of their empire. Shashla Amuro fought back the urge to vomit. He really didn't want to throw up inside his helmet, especially in front of a distinguished Porel Kamda. He swallowed hard and focused on the meditative techniques that he had been taught at the academy, attempted to bring equilibrium to his mind and body. He breathed deeply and slowly. The Orca shuttle lurched again, and with it his stomach vibrations shook the craft, and a rattling filled his ears as something impacted on the hull with a loud thud. I really want the Tau flyers, like the Tiger Shark and the Orca, to get plastic releases. I don't know. The Orca actually would be great because they wouldn't make it an aircraft, they would just make it a flying hover vehicle. Maybe give it like a really far range it can go. So it'll be like a faster devilfish, but less armed. And with more crew it can go. Actually, it'll be amazing. Like, be able to deploy 2 Fire Warrior squads and an entire squad of crew carnivores and just into the middle of the enemy. With Deep Strike. Oh, no, there's 2 types of the Orca. You've got the Orca Transport and the Orca Ship. The Orca Ship is a forge. The Orca Transport. I don't think they sell for Orca anymore. Oh, let me open a link in a new tab. Open image in a new tab. There we go. So here you go. New Orca. So this is the Orca Transport. No, the Orca is completely different from the spacecraft. Remember, the designations of Tau aircraft and stuff is by the Imperium. It's not actually the official Tau names for them. And the Imperium is sometimes a bit redundant with the names it can give stuff. Or more accurately, a bit contradictory. But yeah, as far as I'm aware, this is not the same as an Tau Orca spacecraft. Tau Orca spacecraft. And it could be, because you got the Manta. Well, this is much smaller than a Manta. So here you go. Here is the spacecraft code for Orca. And that's specifically for Cassel. So yeah. Yep. You got 2 Orcas. This one and this one. This is the one they're probably talking about. This is the Orca dropship. This is basically equivalent to a Tau drop pod. It's completely unarmed. It just drops into the middle of the enemy, drops off the troops, and then just gets out of there. Yeah. Exactly. Which is probably why they specifically said for Orca shuttle. Also, it just helps you realise what it is when you say shuttle. Vibrations shook the craft and a rattling filled his ears. As something impacted on the hull with a loud thud, his stomach jumped as the craft dropped suddenly. It fell, and it kept falling. They were going down. An emergency chime sounded. He was prepared to die for the greater good, but he didn't want to die like this, trapped in a box, not knowing what was going on, not being able to fight back. He gripped the armrest tightly as gravity pushed him back in his seat. I do like how comfortable Tau's ships look, though. Like the old Tau transports. And I find it funny that all of the Forge World Tau transports actually have the Tau sat inside them. Just so you know how comfortable it is and just how much, you know, we got nice chairs. They're like luxury cruisers compared to like what the Imperium uses. There was a series of sharp cracks and a scraping alongside the hull, when Amro felt another impact. This time, it felt underside the craft. The arc continued to shake violently, vibrating Amro's bones and his rattling teeth in his head. Vibrating Amro's bones and rattling his teeth inside his head. A high-pitched squeal of tearing metal cut through the rest of the noise. The shuttle began to slow, and then, with a dull thump, it stopped. With a gasp, Amro pulled free his helmet and then lost the contents of his stomach. The Archer was buried at the end of a long furrow. It had ploughed through the forest. Broken branches and foliage lay scattered in the boxy craft's wake. The blunt nose of the shuttle was heaped with earth. Earth? They were unearthed! Smoke rose lazily from the buckled wreckage. Amro staggered down the rear hatch and sought to regain his composure. His head swam, and he was unsteady on his hooves. Oh yeah, forget Tau have hooves. But most of all, the burning heat of embarrassment spread through his chest and rose to his face. The young Shashla replaced his helmet so that the other Tau would not see the red that flushed his blue skin. Wait, they have red blood? Wouldn't it turn purple if he's got red blood? The sky was filled with blossom smoke and crisscrossing contrails as Tau fighters continued to do with human aircraft high above. Horel Kamdar emerged from the wreckage, a fire warrior helping the aging dignitary down the ramp. Amro breathed a sigh of relief that the diplomat was alive. His squad's mission was to get Kamdar out to the capital city, which had come under heavy shelling of the human force that were trying to retake the planet. Escort him to safety. Behind a fire warrior, an MV4 shield drone bobbing along uncertainly. Its circular hull was dented and scorched from the crash, and from its wobbling movements, Amro guessed that it had a damaged gravitator. The drone bumped into a tree and blurted out its dissatisfaction in a warble of bleats. A whining sound rose around them. At first, Amro didn't notice it over ringing in his ears. As it grew louder, he glanced up at the sky. One of the human aircraft had peeled away from a distant dogfight and was bearing down on them. Amro shouted a warning to his comrades. They grabbed what they could from the wreckage and ran towards the tree line. The drone bobbed in the air near the downed Orca. "Come on, MV," called Amro, and the hovering drone turned and followed. There was a series of dull thuds as solid projectiles thumped into the earth, scattering plumes of dirt. The fighter strafed the crash site, shots punched through the armoured skin of the Orca, and there was a crump as something vital detonated inside, followed by an explosion that tore the craft apart. Fragments of metal rained down over the area, shredding the foliage and embedding themselves in tree trunks and branches. With a scream of jet engines, the fighter pulled up and disappeared from sight.
Oh my god, the drone stubbed its toe and started shouting expletives at the inanimate object. It's just like me for real, for real.
It is. The drone! Don't humanize the drones! It's abominable intelligence! The drones are evil! Shielded from view by the thick canopy of leaves, a small party Tau trudged through the forest, directed by Shashu Fashna. I am probably absolutely butchering these names. Amro's squad leader and the most senior fire warrior present. Even the revered Kamdar deferred to his leadership. Eventually, they arrived at the squat wooden building. It was angular and ugly in the way of human buildings, but it lacked the Gothic flourishes and ostentation of other human architecture that Amro had seen. It was constructed simply from wood and spoke of simple agrarian life. Vashna gestured combat signs with his hand. An Amro and another fire warrior took up point, scanning for area with snub-nosed plasma carbines. Amro moved from room to room through the strange dwelling, checking for threats, but the house was empty. Striding through the wreckage of their life, it was hard not to imagine what kind of people had lived here. Amro stopped at a small alcove in the wall, carefully arranged were candles and a small burner of incense. A sweet smell still hung in the air, a shrine of some sort. I think UI is meant to be pronounced we. Oh. Shashwi. Sounds French. The young fire warriors are aware that many aliens offer devotion to otherworldly beings in this way. Oh, there's a big Tau symbol here. Even some of the species that had been incorporated into the Tau Empire. But Amro found the idea strange. It went against the second teachings of the ethereals. At the centre of the shrine was a figure carefully carved in wood. Curious, Amro picked it up. It was a robed human with a cadaverous skull-like face, seated upon a large throne. The throne was gold, both of the paint was faded and worn with age. What manner of god is this, he wondered. A voice came over his comlink, interrupting his thoughts. Amro, status report, ordered Vashna. All good, he reported, respectfully replacing the figure. Good. Darkness approaches. We will spend the night here before moving on. In the glowing light, Tempesta Helderman picked his way through the broken branches and charged shrapnel as he approached the alien wreck. Casino's interloper, who had incited insurgency on this planet, had attempted to flee. Hi, Nanofate! Don't be gambling! So bad! But his ship had been brought down before leaving the atmosphere. There was little left intact. The hull was split open and smouldering. Thick black smoke drifted in the air. Oops, I whacked a microphone there of a magazine. But his helmet's rebreather filtered it out. The heat of the burning craft fouled his heat vision and made it impossible to see if anyone was alive inside. Rifle raised, Haldeman slowly stepped through the opening and entered the alien craft. The rear compartment was empty, save for rows of empty seats, some of which had been torn free in the explosion and scattered across the deck. Oh, could you imagine if they find where they went because they see the dents in trees and where the drone hit them? You need to do something with those. You're true. You could spend them on like a new outfit for your little cupcake that's down there. Oh, look at it going across the screen. A broken body lay amongst the wreckage, clad in the armour of the Tau infantry. He made his way through the hatch into the cockpit. The pilots were dead. The charred corpses still strapped into the melted flight seats. Presumably they died on impact before the cockpit had been set ablaze. There had not been any survivors, but the few bodies he'd found did not account for the number of passengers, nor did any appear to be his target. Helderman disembarked the craft and signalled to his squad that the area was clear of hostiles. Oh gosh, this is pretty long. It looks like there were survivors, he informed him. Kamdat among them. The tracks leading away from the crash site, said Tempestus West. They've headed into the forest. As the sun rose, Amro stood watch near the fence that marked the boundary for Woodcutter's cottage. He looked out at the vast swathes of trees. His people were from a desert world, and he still found it strange to see so many trees in one place. When he'd first arrived on Jarnas, the leaves had been deep green. Now they were turning gold. The Tau word Awahi, he thought. A word meaning a time of endings that allows the possibility of new beginnings. A subtle word, and one filled with melancholy as well as hope. Autumn was the human word for this time of year. He wondered where it had come from and what subtle meanings it might suggest. And if you're American, it's fall. Just leaf fall down. Leaf fall down. Yeah. Was a tempest. Look at the Tempesta science. Oh. I'm joking. Apparently it was called fall before we changed it to autumn. And the Americans kept the old word. As he watched the leaves fall, he longed to describe the colours. The interplay of the light to capture their beauty in words. He opened a recording file in his armor's comms device and began dictating a poem, carefully weighing each syllable. You know, you should really be paying more attention to, you know, being a soldier rather than artistry. Right now. Like you're in the middle of an enemy zone while you're being hunted. Filthy, rough, professor, perish heretic. Yeah. He stopped, suddenly feeling foolish for his indulgence. He pressed a button on his fan brace control and deleted the recording. He was of a fire caste, born of the hot sands of Fiola. The life of a poet was not for him. His path in life had been chosen for him at birth, and he could not change it any more than he could change the stars. He was a warrior, and his contribution to the Empire lay in the strength of arms, not the skillful use of words like Kamda. While Kamda strode over to Amro, who stood to attention as the diplomat approached, bowing respectively. MV floated up behind Kamda, still bobbing and wobbling unsteadily in the air. Even in its damaged state, the shield drone instinctively protected the water-caste diplomat. Instinct. Amro couldn't help but smile at the little machine's loyalty. It was typical of the Empire, mused Amro. Everything serves a preordained role, even this simple machine intelligence. Yeah, for being a Tau does not sound like a great thing to be honest. Oh, it's like being chosen to be a space marine and now you have to live the life of a warrior. Except at least the space marines, depending on which chapter you belong to, are allowed to indulge in their artistic side. At ease, soldier, chuckled Kamda warmly. I'm not a military officer, you don't need to stand on ceremony for me. Ammo relaxed his stance. But he still felt awkward in the presence of venerable statesman. This is your first deployment, isn't it? Kamda said. It was more of a statement than a question. Yes, honoured one, Amro replied. How did you know? You're bearing a demeanour. Your uncertainty mixed with your determination to live up to the expectations laid upon you. You can see all of these things in me? Asked Amro, amazed at such insight. Yes, plus, he smiled, I read the file on my assigned bodyguard unit before we depart to the capital. Ours is not an easy path, Amro, he continued after a pause. Although we are asked to sacrifice much, our roles serve a greater cause. Though you may doubt it, you are in the right place. Trust in the cause and in the wisdom of the ethereals. You will make a fine fire warrior. Powderman stalked around the woodcutter's cottage, keeping within the tree line. Although he could not see them, he knew his squad mates were doing likewise. Once again, I think it's pronounced Ifasa, or more like Refasa. I can't remember. Isn't that the Tau word for human? Taking up positions around the cabin to ensure that none of the Sino scum were able to escape the ambush. Despite the heavy carapace armour he wore, Alderman moved silently, taking care not to disturb the branches as he moved. As he drew near, he saw a tall, robed alien approach one of the sentries. It was the primary target. Kamda. Alderman carefully unshouldered his hellgun and lay down on the forest floor. He brought the gun to rest against a mound of moss, so that it cushioned the barrel and prevented it from rocking. He braced the weapon stock against his shoulder. Then he sighted down the blade the barrel, adjusting the scope until Kamda was clearly in view. Each tiny movement and adjustment of his gun caused the targeting crosshair to sweep over the figure. He brought them to rest over the alien's head. He forced his body to relax so that no tension in his muscles would cause the rifle to buck and ruin the shot. Haldeman took a deep breath and pulled the trigger. Anro saw something glint in the shadows of the trees beyond, followed by a flash. Without thinking, he dove in front of Kamdash, shielding the diplomat of his body. He tensed in anticipation of the impact of the shot. There was a flash of light, but there was no sudden impact, no searing pain. There was just a faint shimmer that rippled the air around him. For a moment he was confused. Then he realised what happened. MV, the little drone, had saved them with its force field. Oh, so he would have been way too late. Like, a last bolt would have already hit him by the time he noticed there was a last bolt. He pushed Kamda to the ground, hiding behind the fence, and brought his weapon to bear. The shot had given away the sniper's position, and Amro returned fire, blazing with his plasma carbine. Plants were blasted apart and vaporized by rapid bursts of superheated energy. There was no sign of a shooter. Stay down and stay close to MV. Once more, a hazy bubble of light enveloped the area around the drone as more laser blasts splashed against its energy shield. The injured drone was knocked back, and it whined with effort of maintaining the defensive field. Amro wasn't sure how much longer the shield would last before the generator burned out or the poor drone overheated. Around them, all hell had broken loose as humans commenced their attack. Bright flashes of light flicked back and forth through the air, lighting up the dawn with flashes of red and blue. The fire warriors held their ground. Amro saw one of them pitch backwards in a spray of purple blood as a shot found its mark. Another fell as a last round pierced his leg, but he kept firing. Amro could see that the fire warriors had deliberately fallen back to the house. The ploy was working, and the humans, thinking they held the advantage, were emerging from cover of trees in order to press the attack. Two were gunned down, their armour melted by plasma burns, and the Tau counter-attack began, flanking the shoulders and punishing them for overconfidence and exposing themselves. More humans fell to Tau fire. Amro, came Fashna's voice over the comlink. Get the ambassador out of here. His safety is paramount. We'll keep them busy while you get away. Kamda's words and sacrifice. Words about sacrifice of a greater good echoed in Amro's mind as he was given the order. He knew Fashna and his squad mates were choosing to serve a higher ideal, even at the expense of their own lives. This was not merely a duty to them. It was a fundamental part of what it meant to be a Tau. I need to get you out of here, he told Kamda, leading the diplomat into the forest. You too, MV. Oh. Well, I definitely did some Avatar stuff. Yay! Wait, where's your little model now? Nanoface. Oh, you got an axe! And a little snake! And you've got a watermelon outfit! And a big old hat! A big old helmet! Campaign for the World Eaters. More campaigny stuff while playing it. Against orcs. Oh, look, Angron's over here. I think I've only got one more set of combat patrols to go after first. It's going to have a Forge Fiend and 10 more World Eaters. But before then, we've got more Jackals. The second sprue. So we got 2 sprues of the Jackals. And then we need the bases. We'll build these guys tomorrow. So we'll 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Was that base part of these guys? I don't know. There we go. I do respect the town their thing, of a greater good tries to be, but I have nothing but suspicion of the ethereals. Garmongers. I love Garmongers. Yeah, the Tau do not seem great, to be quite frank. The ethereals at the very least. Using jackals. Jackal data sheets. Leader names here, jackals. More stories. This one actually seems focused on the world eater. Where's this? Oh wait, more Bonds of Honor. I thought we finished Bonds of Honor. No, we got more Bonds of Honor. Okay, how to paint your world eaters. Pretty basic paint scheme. Well, they go pretty in depth in it. So there's not much lore in this one, but if we remember Bonds of Honor, I'll put this in darkness. If we remember the Bonds of Honor, what happened in Bonds of Honor? So Guy lost his bolt gun. They travelled across the stars to look for the bolt gun. They dealt with Tyranids, they dealt with Elder Corsairs, random smugglers, Chaos dudes. They got crash landed on a planet with arcs, got saved by the Photon, landed on a planet where they ended up fighting some guardsmen. Well, the guardsmen attacked them thinking of the enemy space marines. But then they realised that they were world eaters. And a random intercessor took on a Juggernaut Lord and won somehow. Yeah, these guys have more blue just about. But a random intercessor fighting a world eater Juggernaut Lord. A lord that rides a Juggernaut off the world eaters and beating him in single combat.
I don't remember what happened last time in Bonds of Honor. This is because I actively bleach my brain of the Space Marines.
Oh gosh. Well, it's tough. You got to see even more world eaters being beaten up by the Space Marines apparently. Oh yeah, and all of this is being told by a random Space Marine dude who's like telling it to new neophyte recruits. And he's treating them badly the entire time. Well then, my boys, we come to the end of our little look around the Fortress Monastery. Much as we are drawing to the end of Sergeant Ascaton's quest. But all is not solved yet. Judgment, the missing rifle that Sergeant Ascaton swore to retrieve, was still not within his grasp. You may remember the squad found itself amongst the troops of Astra Militarum facing down hordes of world eaters. Make no mistake, they were vicious and bloodthirsty lot, and many fell defending the Imperial world from them. Mechatras and Sergeant Ascaton ran ahead of the front lines and found a great lord of the world eaters there. Ordinarily, perhaps, his life would have been Sergeant Ascaton's prize, but Mechatras was allowed the honour of duelling him. It was a close-run thing, and the young warrior was grievously injured. But eventually, Mechatras cast down his foe on the ground, shattering his foe's skull with a strike of his fist. Now, if we do remember, the Juggernaut Lord did get felled, like his Juggernaut got destroyed by the heavy bolt rifles first, which does make sense. So we can imagine maybe the Lord was a bit dazed and injured. Space Marines section. Space Marines inside Space Marines. We heard you like Space Marines, so we put Space Marines in your Space Marines in your Space Marines. What would that be? Oh, a Space Marine transporter, a Thunderhawk transport with a Land Raider being transported, and the Land Raider has Terminators inside. And inside the Terminators, suits. Oh, Space Marine. Yeah. Mechatras cast down his foe on the ground, shattering his foe's skull with a strike from his fist. His arm now shattered, Mechatras managed to bear the pain and continued the fight. His broken limb held together by the machine muscle of his armour. Avengers of the squad triumphed and reunited over the smouldering remains of a battlefield, their enemies vanquished and their allies, the Astra Militarum, shaken to their very core. But of this brief moment of quiet, there was much to be done, and the squad set about their preparations. One of the first problems was Mechatras and his arms. How long could he have carried on? I couldn't say. A good deal longer, no doubt, but even Space Marines have their limits. And there is no purpose to pursuing a warrior to their deaths when an alternative presents itself. After all, as all of you boys will shortly see, the training of a Space Marine is long and arduous. space marines are not easy to replace. And I, for one, don't fancy my recruiting work being doubled simply so that damned fools can kill themselves just to prove they can withstand the pain and suffering of their deaths. Luckily, with this being an Imperial planet, some surgical assistance was available, and the Medicae servitors were pressed into service to assist, and Megatron soon found himself restored to better than his former health. His old arm, weak and broken as it had proven, was taken from him, and in its place was an arm. And in place was an arm and hand of steel. "My flesh is weak!" You'll not think such a creature as a servitor could possess any skill at all, and indeed many of them are nothing but shandling mounds of augmented flesh. They had a Space Marine-sized arm already ready for them. But the neural tissue that is left to control their bodies can be applied in many different directions, and should you ever need the attention of a Medicae servitor, you're in relatively safe hands. You're certainly more likely to survive a procedure than if your friends try it yourselves. Once Megatron was fixed, two other problems were presented themselves. First was the matter of transport. Whether Astra Militarum quickly solved this. Whether out of gratitude for the squad's aid or out of duty towards the Astartes of the Emperor, his most loyal servants, or out of straightforward fear, I do not know. But whatever their motivation, they were obliged with a fine craft that would allow their squad wherever they needed to go. Ooh, that yellow seems golden sometimes. And what was next was a more pressing problem: where to go. When they set out, the squad were in a hot pursuit, but chance and circumstance swept them away and the trail had gone cold. The brothers were in for a stroke of luck, if you could call it that. Intelligence reached them of a petty drudge in the armies of chaos, who sought to establish himself as a power in the sector. This would have been unremarkable were it not for the fact that his new forces were being drawn to a powerful symbol, a great weapon that he had supposedly taken in a duel from a mighty Space Marine leader. There had been no such duel indeed. The Chaos Warrior, now setting himself up as a lord, would have been beneath the notice of an Adeptus Astartes for a good while, but as you will see, the lord had already amassed quite a substantial following. The power he was gifted from his infernal masters had quickly elevated him to a substantial threat. Sometimes the heretics lost in the shadows of the galaxy are allowed to grow too powerful too fast. The might of the Space Marines is not brought to bear in time. But never mind that for now. You, like the squad, must be thinking only of the rifle, not of the politics and growing threats in the wider galaxy. While they had a good lead, Sergeant Ascaton was none too pleased about the circumstances, as you might imagine. You have seen the great efforts that he and his comrades went to. So precious was the rifle. It meant as much to him as his brothers did, and to think of it held hostage to be used to rouse some unholy rabble was beyond what he could bear. They set off immediately, and headed for the location where the ambitious Chaos Lord was reputed to be gathering his forces. As they came to the planet, they honed in on some strange technological signatures, and soon they put their craft down before a great mountain. It betrayed no hint of technology, but up the sides they saw 8 staircases, all intertwined and meeting at a single point. On foot they set off. The going was hard. As they drew higher, the sensors in their armour began to pick up a dreadful heat. Eventually they reached the point where the staircases drew together. And now, look at that cool skull though. And now they were beside it, and they could see a crude entrance cut into a rock. I mean, 8 staircases, 8 pointed star of chaos. Are you sure it's good to use those staircases and go inside? Just melt a bomb everything. Feeling as though that would destroy the rifle. Feeling as though they were close to their goal, the squad wasted no time and entered. There they found themselves in a grand cave, cut into the rock and taking the form of a hall. Above them, a great vaulted ceiling was wreathed in darkness, and though they looked hard in all directions, they could see no end to the great room. The only feature in front of them, a circle of stunted pillars standing on bare slabs of the floor. About the circle lay a series of sigils, scorched into the bare rock. They glowed with a fell light that sickened the squad as they looked at it. In the centre of the circle was a giant stone slab, an altar. Where the rest of the circle looked newly cut into smooth slabs of the ground, the altar was a thing as ancient as the stars. Its irregular form appeared to have been hewn from the ground by crude hands many hundreds of thousands of years ago. So decrepit and inexpertly made was its appearance. The light appeared to dim yet further, and a foul voice rent the air with unspeakable sounds that I cannot bring myself to utter. Hundreds of thousands of years ago. Would be before humans took to space. So made by aliens or demons. This was a language of darkness and of rock and death and of death. Of darkness and rock. Language of rock. It was rock music. Death metal. The words must have been a summons or a command. But as the squad stood in wonder and horror, the speaker finished and the lights winked out entirely. The darkness ruled for but a moment before a new glow was cast about the chamber. The air was torn asunder, and from another dimension beings of utmost horror began to enter the chamber. The squad hesitated for a second, and then began to fire all at once. Possessed! I was expecting jackals in this one. Magda saw before him a strange creature of maw and tentacle. It's a spawn! And staring eyes that came into the air, and then was dashed to the ground with a hail of bolt fire just moments later. Then the stranger creature gave way to beings that were more comprehensible but no less terrifying. Some were like moving flames. Oh, no, the horrors! And others like flat fish, siphoning through the air. I thought they were fighting world eaters, they're fighting sentient demons now. It sounds bizarre to describe, and truly it was a bizarre sight for brothers. But for no mere phantoms or scare tricks, each of these creatures was vicious and deadly. Darion, was the first to make a mistake. As the brothers defended themselves with a hail of bolts, he fumbled while reloading. In the brief gap where he could not protect himself, a gout of blue flame was launched at him, and he stood crowned by fire as one of the swooping demons flew at him. It was fast and majestic in a way. Remember, none of them have died. A number have suffered injuries, but none have died so far. But where it struck him, his armor was partially ripped away from him, and behind its life movements lay a vast reserve of power. Recall the things I have said that a space marine armor can withstand. I should tell you. Cuptle, read the message. Read the message, Cuptle. Cuptle doesn't want to read the message. Oh, that's because it says sat, not say. Okay, I'll copy it over. I'll copy it over for you.
And here comes the corn berserker off the top rope with the steel chair.
Yeah, a corn berserker off the top rope. I didn't even realise you put sat, not say, for a while. It's not Cuptle. I'm just very bad. No. Cuptle, you should be able to tell when someone wants you to say something. So where were we up to? I should tell you that these are some of the most dangerous and foul creatures that you might ever have the misfortune to encounter. Luckily, a space marine can always depend on their brothers, and even before Darian was struck, Ascaton and Herculean turned their fire to this attacker while Mekatos defended them. It seemed for a moment that they might fend off the demons, but while they at first came in great waves, soon more were falling than would coming into the chamber. But all was about to change. A susurrus of silence ran through the room, when the space itself seemed to turn inside out, at first slowly, and then with a gut-turning speed. But as the brothers looked, they saw standing before them a huge demon of great power. Beneath its unfurling wings was an unfathomable being of pure confusion. Eyes stared in all directions at them from its body, which seemed to move and flow like a waterfall. Even as it stood still, its hands brandished a shimmering staff that bled colour over itself and changed form as it moved. Then a beak opened and a great cry echoed across the chamber, sucking in the silence and breaking it to pieces. All the squad turned their weapons of its aberration as one, and it whiffered and shrieked into a hail of fire, but it remained upright and strode towards them. With an arc of its staff, it dashed them all backwards. The brothers kept firing even as they were thrown away. The being let out a keening cry, and gouts of fire flew from its mouth. Then, through the heat rays, the brothers saw a procession entering the chamber behind the beast. Foul servants of darkness, wreathed in scrolls inscribed with blasphemous prayers, flanked a column of priests, and at the front of this procession, scarred and marked with heathen runes and foul signs, was a mutilated relic, a rifle. Judgment. Oh, they're gonna find Judgment. Also, that sounds more like Word Bearers, not World Eaters. They did what I do and accidentally confused the names up. Oh no. So we got the Jackals. Jackals are pack-raised cultists who follow the World Eaters, aiding them on the battlefield. They aim to match the pure crazed ferocity of their masters and carry tanks of potent chemical stimulants of their backs to help them endure the pushing task of endless melee combat and high-energy dismounted assaults. Yeah. Jackals are amongst the strongest and most bloodthirsty of the mortal followers of the World Eaters, and seek to emulate the gore-crazed masters in every way they can. When sent into battle, they enter the fray with wild abandon, hacking and slashing their chain weapons in the hope of earning a favour of their lords. So you got the Jackals who emulate the Corn Berserkers, and you got the Goremongers who emulate the Bloodletters. Even worse, it's the World Eaters, or maybe it's the Word Bearers. It's the Word Eaters, the World Bearers. You know, I'm just gonna have a war band named for word-eating world bearers. Suskara, you have a really soothing reading voice. Oh, so hello. I'm glad you like my reading voice. Thank you. I hope you have fun in the stream. Okay, so one more magazine. This time, Corn Berserkers. Is this actually 10 Corn Berserkers on one spoon? It might be. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No, it's not. There's going to be a third spoon. Oh, that's really cool art. What the heck? I don't think I've seen that. That's a Kriegsman. He's got a shovel. Oh my gosh, that Corn Berserker stands no chance. I don't even think it's a Corn Berserker. I just think it's a... It might be a Corn Berserker. Is it a space marine of some kind? I know the Kriegsman got cut in half, but you know... He's still got a shovel in his hand. Still got to hit him in his unhelmeted head. How to build a Corn Berserkers. Oh wait, let's go the other way. So we don't tear the pages. Calm Berserkers. Rings of Demonic Steel. Are we learning more about Vashtar? What the heck? Chosen of Kharn. The Crimson Path. Anger of a Red Angel. Yeah, how to build a Calm Berserkers. And Angron. Look at that cool art. Oh, that art reminds me of something. It's like, do you know some of those weird films you can find?
There's got to be a way to combine the World Eater and Word Bearer symbol.
I can't remember.
Maybe make the burning skull the jaws eating the world.
Oh, that's so cool. Where did I put my knife? Oops, it's right here. On my clock. Angron the World Eater. Look at that. Oh my gosh. Oh, Red Angel, sorry. Angron is a violent and bloodshed. Angron is violence and bloodshed given immortal form. A bloodthirsty demigod of battle. He is the chosen champion of Kharn. For 10,000 years he has ravaged the galaxy, bringing death and slaughter to entire worlds. Such is his power that those in his presence are driven to act with unspeakable violence and ferocity. Betcha Kharn would have preferred Sanguinius though. Or maybe, who was another one that he would have preferred over? Guilliman. Oh, I'd love Guilliman. Imagine an angry Kharn Guilliman. No, Guilliman is like opposite of Logar. Then you got Vogel, Dawn, and the Iron Warriors. Like each of the 10 legions have an opposite. Night Lords and oh, Raven Guard, that's the word. Right Scars. And Emperor's Children, maybe? Blood Angels and World Eaters. Huh. That leaves the Alpha Legion and the Iron Hands. And you got the Salamanders as well. And what's the final Chaos Legion? I can't remember the final Chaos Legion. Oh, Thousand Suns. Sanguinius feels like the perfect one for every single god though. Like, he's super artsy and beautiful, like Slanesh stuff. He's got the blood rage and stuff, like Kharn would have. He's got some kind of psychic power, and his children have a lot of psychos. Just like, you know, Thousand Suns. He's like the perfect one for every single one of the Chaos Gods. But anyway, Angron is a violence and... oh no, we did that one. He has ravaged the galaxy, bringing death and slaughter to entire worlds. Such is the power that in his presence are driven to acts of unspeakable violence and ferocity. Are we learning about him in the Armageddon book? The demonic Angron has tormented many worlds throughout the galaxy. His monstrous form appears at the head of armies of world eaters, space marines, and incarnate demons to wreak carnage and bloodshed across the stars. His coming causes dread in his enemies, and even his allies look upon him warily, but they are never quite sure where he might turn. Oh, Space Wolves and Thousand Suns, like those two are the two opposite. I remember that one. Then you got the Death Guard and Salamanders. You got Death Guard, Alpha Legion, Salamanders, and Iron Hands. Do the Death Guard have like a particular feud with the either Iron Hands or the Salamanders, and same with the Alpha Legion? I guess Iron Hands and Death Guard are like the two closest to being you know, mirroring forces with some level of vendetta between them. His coming causes dread in his enemies, and even his allies look up him with warily, but they are never quite sure where he might turn upon them to sate his next. To sate his uncontrollable fury and battle lust. He is a terrible figure who spreads fear before him. However, this was not always the case. Once Angron was one of the Primarchs. Sorry. I should just be reading it on screen because in real life, I'm getting so much glare on the images of the pages. Once Angron was one of the Primarchs, the 20 genetically crafted sons of the Emperor. Had he remained on terror with his father, he might have had a bright future as a noble warrior and leader of humanity's armies. But such was not to be the case. Fate intervened, and the Primarchs were scattered across the galaxy. Angron was set upon a tragic course that would transform him into a violent and malevolent creature that he is today. Oh! Sands of blood. Look, the white and blue! Gosh, yes, they can't berserk us. The World Eaters once wore white and blue as the main colours. Oh, look at that. It's like Angron as a gladiator. After the infant Primarchs were scattered through the galaxy by the Chaos Gods, Angron found himself growing up with a world of Nuceria, where he was made an intern and forced to fight the gladiatorial arena for the amusement of his captors. Wordbearers also have a prior name, much like World Eaters. Were once the Warhounds, they were the Imperial Heralds, but they were also went by another name, the Iconoclasts. Oh, that's why you got Iconoclast cruisers everywhere. Doesn't Iconoclast mean that you like tear down idols and stuff? It's ironic that we became the word bearers. A lot of the legions, like the Sons of Horus, were originally the Lunar Wolves. I can't remember what the Blood Angels were called before becoming the Blood Angels, but they did have a different name. Angron was a brilliant gladiator, slaying hundreds of opponents and establishing himself as a respected and feared opponent. After enduring many years in captivity, Angron led his fellow interns in a revolt against their masters. Although his army of cybernetically enhanced gladiators won many victories, eventually they found themselves surrounded and outnumbered. The rebellion was crushed, but Angron was teleported away at the last moment. Lord of the Seventh. Angron's saviour turned out to be none other than his father, the Emperor of Mankind, who had been drawn to Nuceria by the psychic aura of the lost Primarch. The Emperor had secretly been observing Angron from orbit, and he was most impressed with the way that he led his intern army in battle. The Emperor bestowed upon Angron the command of his 12th Legion. Oh wait, I said 7th, it's 12th. Oops. That's not 12, that's 17th Legion. Why does it say 12 here, 17 here, 12 here, 17 here, 12, 17, 12, 17, 12, 17, 12, 17. Yeah, they went around burning the false religions. That was their main task until Lorgar, truly dedicated faithful even to Emperor's cause, twisted that. Yeah. Also, this makes it sound like the Emperor had plenty of time, you know, to help Angron out. Oh gosh. Throughout the Great Crusade, Angron led his new legion to many victories and conquered numerous worlds of the Imperium. However, his legion quickly gained a dark reputation for excessive violence and barbaric culture taking shape within the legion's ranks. Blood rituals of the taking of enemy schools had become commonplace. Angron also introduced devices known as the Butcher's Nails, which were modelled on the neural implants that he himself had received on Nuceria. These amplified the aggression and violent potential of his World Eaters, but were often unstable, triggering psychosis, uncontrollable rages, and driving the already violent world eaters into frenzied states. Yee! Look at Angron over here. The Crimson Path. The savage world eaters were walking a path that was perilously close to chaos, and many heard the whispers of Kharn urging them to ever more violent feats. Adding to this was Angron's lingering resentment over the fact that the Emperor had intervened in his final battle on New Syria, teleporting him away and denying him the chance to fight and die alongside his army of fellow gladiators. It was easy for his brother, Horus, ever the skilled manipulator, to exploit this anger and turn it into outright hostility towards the Emperor. When Horus turned against the Imperium, Angron stood at his side, only too happy to unleash his legion against his father. The World Eaters fought in many notable battles throughout the Horus Heresy, from the opening salvos of Istvan III, through to a final siege of terror, becoming ever more barbarous and debased as they shed the blood of their brothers. Angron is given command of his legion. Oh, that's Demon Angron. Read the constraints placed upon. Now, if the Emperor had actually warned them about the Chaos Gods, they might have been able to, you know, counteract the corrupting power of Chaos, but no. So there's like a bit of orange something on my camera stand and it's annoying me. I thought I could just like push it away, but no, it's like really on. The knife work. Okay, it scraped away. Viewed from the constraints placed upon him by the Imperium, Angron began to worship Kharn. He became increasingly violent and paid little heed to his advisors and counsellors, who urged caution and restraint. He was often at the
That's
forefront of
heckin'
battles.
hilarious. The World Eaters are the 12th. Do you wanna know who the 17th is? I'll give you 3 guesses, but you'll only need one.
Word bearers? Is it the word bearers? Oh no. So it's not just getting confused between the names being very similar. But yeah, for word bearers and world eaters. World eaters 12 spelled XII. Word bearers spelled XB211 or II, the 17th. Oh, is this stupid? Oh no. Did Games Workshop do that on purpose just to make sure people get extra confused between the two? Oh, I think they probably purposely made the mistakes, didn't they? He was often at the forefront of battles, leading his world eaters personally, reaping an impressive tally of skulls. The campaigns of the Horus Heresy would eventually lead Angron back to his adoptive world of New Syria, where he first slaughtered the world's rulers, and then everyone else of the planet in an act of terrible vengeance for his followers who were killed so many years before. So great was the slaughter that Angron unleashed, that he was awarded by Kharn with demonhood. The powers of chaos flowed through him, making his body into a new monstrous form. His skin was darkened to the colour of spilt blood, and his great rings sprouted from his back. The Chosen of Kharn. Transformed into a towering monster, Angron stalks the battlefields of 41st millennium. Look at him. He's a big old mealy. Look, it's art! Wait. Wait. I don't recognise these orc boys. They must be, but I don't recognise that cyborg head. I mean, maybe. Let me look. Let me look. Arc boys. Okay, it's definitely not for basic arc boys. It might be for other arc boys though. This one. Okay, no, it is for other arc boys. What the heck is he? Oh, I thought that was a knob. It's not a knob, this one. It's just a normal arc boy. Okay. Oh yeah, Anther is a cyborg skull. Anything new here? No. Yeah, it's Fat Bark Boy, Fat Arc Boy, and this Arc Boy. Okay, that's all it is. Every single time I see arcs now, I'm just like, ooh, maybe they're secretly showing new stuff here. Oh gosh, the Chosen of Kharn. Reborn as an imperial demon, immortal demon, Angron was waged war for 10,000 years. His rage knows no bounds. Although for most of that 10,000 years, wasn't he actually like just stuck in the war? His rage knows no bounds, and he has long since been driven insane by the grinding of a butcher's nails, implanted in his skull and the demonic energy that flows through him. The opening of the cicatrix maledictum and the subsequent influx of a war energy into the galaxy empowered Angron. He emerged from a planet of Armageddon, with a weakening of reality allowed hordes of carnate demons to manifest on the world, where he then got beaten up by a bunch of Grey Knights. Hi Bob, how you doing? Lore not important anymore, that's the best thing ever. The X for 12. Yeah, we've been getting things being mixed up between the word bearers and the world eaters. The world bearers and the word eaters. Yeah, and over here they called the world eaters the 12th Legion, and then they called them the 17th Legion. 17th Legion is the word bearers, 12th is the world eaters. You stinky corn enjoyer. No, we're not corn enjoyers. We're corn punchers. To be fair, I think he was doing stuff, mostly invading Armageddon. It's just that he's been made to do more stuff because he got a model. Yeah, I mean, he was doing stuff, but before the maledictum opened up, demons had an issue of, like, once you beat them, like, they didn't come back. Not for a long time. Sometimes it would be a short time, but often it would be a very long time. And then after the Horus Heresy, Chaos was kind of weakened for a significant time. So it took a while for them to come back. So for most of that 10,000 years, he was actually just fighting wars in the Eye of Terror, every so often being brought into reality, but then banished again. I mean, obviously he has a plastic model now, so they brought him back for more stuff. But I mean, it's not beyond the Games Workshop to decide to retcon him into not being very active anymore, because I think originally he was super active and they made him less active, because that's back when he did have an epic model. He emerged from a planet of Armageddon with a weakening of reality allowed hordes of carnate demons to manifest in the world. Angron led his demonic forces in a brutal campaign that devastated. It only lasted like a few days. It took the combined might of the Space Wolves, Black Templars, and Grey Knight Space Marines to finally banish Angron to the warp. Yeah, it was like 4 companies of Space Wolves, like a single company of Black Templars, maybe equivalent of 2 at most, and then half a company of Grey Knights. Like 3 squads of Grey Knights. That's all it took to banish Angron and his entire army of hordes, along with a bunch of Cadians, Vestroyans, those weird red cowl dudes. Oh, South are Chem dogs, but a lot of, like, half of them turned traitor. Finally banished Angron back to the warp, but even that was merely a temporary defeat, and the Red Angel has returned many times since in his rare In his rare moments of clarity, Angron hates what he has become. He has spent his whole longer life fighting for his freedom from foes who would seek to control him, first for Lords of Nuceria and later for Emperor. I keep changing how to pronounce that. But now he is little more than an instrument of a blood god's will. Only freedom he can hope for is the oblivion of death, but even that is denied to him in his immortal form. Transformed into a towering monster, Angron stalks the battlefields of 41st Millennium. Hello, Night Parade! He was on that long respawn time, and now the cicatrix has opened and chaos flows a bit freer. His time got cut in half. Yeah, and apparently he can summon himself a lot easier on the shadow part of the Imperium Secundus, Imperium Nihilus, whatever you want to call it. Ashtar the Archiflame! We're seeing learning more about him. Oh, these guys are probably going to be better. They're probably just going to be pure Hoffer mode now. Wait, is that an Ode? No, that's not Ode. That's still Primaris. I think the Black Legion forces here are a bit doomed. Like, for fighting aggressors and a Redemptor in melee. They got a whole load of heavy bolters and plasma guns. Oh, sorry. I saw an aggressor with a heavy bolter then. Not an aggressor, a heavy intercessor with a heavy bolter. I was like, wait a minute, is that an eradicator? One of the new eradicators with heavy bolt? No, it's not. Because there's the other one, and it's got a normal bolt rifle, a heavy bolt rifle. And there's the other one. Ashtar led his infernal demon engines against the Dark Angels. I'm not stinky, you stinky. Ashtar is a powerful demonic entity who is linked to the act of invention and curiosity, even things like bows and stuff. He has a great affinity for machines, particularly those that deal out death and misery. He is the embodiment of the many innovations and technological ways in which living beings have sought to kill one another. Ashtar's origins are shrouded in secrecy. Some crypto scholars believe that he arose as an echo of the warp to some great arms race during the forgotten apocalyptic galaxy-spanning war. Others suggest that he was birthed in the warp to carry out some dark... Could you imagine it? He, like, the Cold War. Literally, like, do you know the Cold War, real life one, was enough to birth Ashtar? I saw... Come on, Cuptle. He actually says safe this time. Come on.
I saw a reel the other day. The Astronomicon is just blasting Caramel Dancing into the warp, and that's why the demons keep away. _Capcom lol.
That makes sense. Because for look. What? It's canonical that the Emperor knows Caramel Dancing. Like, he would know it. He would know it. Because he's alive right now as the Emperor. In law. Others posit that he's a reflection of a desire to control and manipulate the world through science and technology, and that he has existed since the first living beings used the first tools. He is a mysterious figure whose appearance heralded great catastrophe. Honestly, he does seem kind of pathetic for a supposed demigod. Ashtar does not serve any of the Chaos Gods. Instead, he has his own sphere of influence within the war, and probably not the only demon who does. He is a master of the solar forges, a realm of infernal industry where terrible weapons are wrought. The greatest of these are the Arcs of Omen. These space-spawn fortresses are forged from huge space hooks and fitted with colossal engines that allow them to traverse the warp. Ashtar has gifted their surface to Abaddon. We already know this, she told us in the other one. So Abaddon for the spoiler in exchange for bringing him the key fragments he so desires. Wings of demonic steel. Sprouting from his back, Ashtar's has bladed wings of living steel that flick and crackle with warp at lightning. They allow him to soar upon empiric currents, appearing in the midst of howling storms of Eldrick's energy as he ascends above the battlefields of real space. They can also be used as potent weapons, slashing and tearing other foes in a blizzard of razor-sharp pinions. Oh yeah, one of the things that I think is repeated is that demons like Vashtar have been able to summon themselves into Imperial Nihilus, and Angron as well, but they require some sort of conduit to summon themselves into the main body of the Imperium. Angron required the altars that were already on Armageddon. Vashtar required Prophet Marn and his tech beast friends to summon him, including sacrifices of some great relics. Belikar, for all the smack I give him, he is a master of his own realm as well, the Realm of Shadows, which is where he gets his penumbral powers. Penumbral Pendulum! Infernal Claws. Vashtar's left arm sports a wicked clawed talon. In addition to using it to shred his enemies, it has built-in weapons that fire gaps of demonic energy. A hammer of soul forges. As much a symbol of office as it is a weapon, Vashtar's hammer embodies his role as a master of the soul forges. He uses it to beat empiric energies and demonic steel into hellish forms, giving mechanical life to his diabolical ideas. It is a potent demon weapon, and in battle it can smash through armor plating, inflicting grievous wounds on machine spirits of vehicles as surely as it pulverizes their armor. It can take over machines as well, and like entire spaceships. Armed Berserkers or Chaos Space Marines have given themselves over to the worship of Thorn, to the exclusion of the rest of the Pantheon. They are bloodthirsty and savage in the extreme, and they make formidable shock troops, tearing through the enemy at close quarters with vicious chain blades. Yep. Photon versus World Eaters, Gene Stealers versus Photon. Unless it's a bite. Actually, there's a canonical reason why he can't just control the machine spirits of his enemies. It's mostly because the machine spirits are capable of resisting him. Like, he tried to do it to Carl's ships and to the Space Marine ship, and they were just like, the machine spirits were like, nah. The only thing he could do is like get control of like very minor spirits, like see through like some lights or whatever. Final World Eater Sprue, Armed Berserker Sprue is here. And then 4, 7, 9, and 10 bases we'll put on top of there. And then we'll sandwich them here so the bases don't go everywhere. And then I can put it to one side. For tomorrow. And a big cool art. Oh wait, we go backwards. World Eater's Victory versus Arts. Scenario Berserkers. Ooh, Arc stuff. Arc Lore, what the heck? Is that a Snakebite clan? Looks like a Snakebite clan. Gorsbag the Thinker. Oh, Vashtar again. Angron. Do Angron and Vashtar hate one another or something? Angron's unstoppable rampage tears through all in its path. Oh, there's Angron being a giant next to the Kriegsman down there. Like, he looks Titan-sized here, doesn't he? I like to think when Vashtar hits Imperial vehicles with his hammer, it does that Doctor Strange thing where its soul gets stunted out to its body. That's cool. Rich! And what have we got next? 10 more Khorne Berserkers next, and we know the Forge Fiend is after that. And then I think that's it for the Combat Patrol magazines. So, let's look. The assault on Malak Baal. Amid the destruction, devastation of the Indomitus Crusade and the incursions of the Arks of Omen, as Imperial forces... I'm surprised I've not heard much about the incursions of the Ark of Omen. I know all about the Indomitus Crusade, but this is crazy. As Imperial forces came across an ancient artifact unknown to them, the investigation was to be their doom. The Black of the Imperium Nihilus, yay! Indomitus fleet Quartus made its way through as many fleets that were part of the Indomitus Crusade. Like the Indomitus Crusade covered so much of the galaxy. Made its way through the perilous void. Their voyage was halted by the discovery of some ancient archaeotech by inquisitorial agents of the planet of Malak Baal. Unsure of its purpose, they investigate to try and discover its purpose. Inquisitors. There's a lot of this in the past few books I've read, where it's like, unsure of its purpose, they investigate to discover its purpose, where it's kind of redundancy in words, or just repeating words in quick succession. Inquisitors initially believed that the device, which they named the Coral Engine, was a potent psychic beacon. So important was the discovery that the fleet was diverted to retrieve it. The artifact was eventually switched on. The Inquisitors were vindicated and then astounded. Not only was it a powerful beacon that could be used for navigation. Oh, I've heard of this! It also appeared to hold back warp storms and even banish demons. Meanwhile, the Stygian heart of the Arks of Omen, along with the Baal fleet, lay siege to a planet. Angron himself aboard his flagship led the fleet into battle against the Imperium forces. The skies above Malak Baal are lit bright with the fires, explosions, and blasts of war. Why is that suddenly in present tense? There's like 3 whole campaign books on the arcs, but if you have only just gotten into it during this edition, you wouldn't have really seen them. Yeah. I came in with 10th edition, so... And left in 7th. Probably dawn of 8th is when I was leaving. I missed out this arc stuff entirely. Did that even amount to anything? I don't know. I've not even heard of what it amounted to. This is the first time I've really been hearing about it. Other than I know about the arcs of Omen, I've heard of the words of them, but I've never heard of in terms of like, oh, there's this big ship called an arc, and it got blown up. That's all I know of it. Or it's like, abandoned ship, it's called an arc. It's scary. The Stygian heart was forced to withdraw, but a few of Angron's vessels broke through the Imperial defences and began to land troops on the planet's surface. So great was the bloodshed that despite the effects of the Coral engines, Khan's demons started to manifest on the battlefield. Once on the planet's surface, Angron, together with an honor guard of bloodthirsters, laid siege to the fortress that housed the Coral engine. With a mighty blow, Angron tore down the gate and entered the sanctuary. Seeing the demonic devastation that was wrought across the planet, operatives of the Inquisition made their decision to overload the Coral engine in a desperate attempt to drive back the chaotic hordes. The desperate gambit worked, and all but Angron and his bloodthirsters were banished. Within the fortress, Angron and his honor guard closed in on the Coral engine, and the defenders rallied around it. Both the Inquisition and the Grey Knights made their final stand, but were no match for Angron. The Grey Knight! Come on, Grey Knight! You're meant to be better than that. He fought his way through the defenders, cleaving their heads and bodies and casting down the mightiest opposition, while his bloodthirsters slew anyone else who came near them. At the last, the defenders were vanquished. Summoning Khan's strength, Angron clove the Coral engine in two. The power unleashed at that moment of its destruction sent a catastrophic wave of energy out from the broken engine, vaporizing everyone in the room and tearing the planet apart. It was then that Vashtor of Archiflame appeared to recover his prize, but at the heart of the planet lay another fragment of the key. They did a lot of localized damage wherever they came out. Arcs are basically chaotic craft worlds the size of small moons and belching warp malice into the surrounding real space. Oh! Look at this ancient art of an arc. Grimlock Grimsmacker, the leader of a breakaway horde of orcs. Oh. Grimlock Gitsmacker watched as the twin suns moved slowly through the sky. As they danced, they cast thin shadows behind the whipgrass, and shades of orange and violet with a light mix. Nearby, most of the older lads were happily fighting amongst themselves, placing idle bets on which of their number would get beaten to death first. Every time one of the combatants collapsed in a wheezing pile of orc, their opponents wasted no time pressing home their advantage, kicking and stamping on their fallen foe until they moved no more. As another orc fell, one of the spectators started yelling incoherently, and a huge knot of his comrades piled in on top of him, their fists flying. Most likely he'd a bit more teeth than he had. Well, more than he had in his pockets anyway. But no matter, the debt was being settled this very moment. Only Vashtor would ever have been able to make the orcs work. They are bigger than even the largest hooks recorded, and they should stake themselves apart as oversized hooks do. Ooh. Wait, what's bigger, the Orcs of Omen or the Phalanx? Or the Blackstone Fortresses? Because Blackstone Fortresses are already basically moon-sized. And the Phalanx is bigger than the Blackstone Fortresses. And the Orcs of Omen are basically just space hooks with giant engines on, according to this. Orcs by an insane margin. Oh. From a distance, the screams of a hunt reached Grimlock's ears. The younger orcs were off learning about the local wildlife. The grass was so thick and deep that he would have been unable to watch the progress, were it not for a plume of smoke that trailed behind them as they gleefully lit the steppe on fire as they passed through it. This peace wouldn't last for long, for the horde was on the cusp of restlessness. It had been a matter of weeks since Grimlock had struck out on his own. The excitement of a new horde, the rejection of the old, would not sustain them for long. He should have planned it better, really. There he had stood, with his lads, the boss of a small army standing victorious over a smoking, ruined, humid town. He hadn't wanted to go back home, where he was just one boss among many, just another underling beneath an even bigger boss, so he didn't. He and his lads struck out on their own, without a plan or any obvious enemies left to fight, but quickly getting bored, and when an orc horde got bored, it would turn on itself in an instant. A high-pitched whine split the air, and Grimlock rolled his eyes. The noise inevitably heralded his pet grot, Dinty. For some reason, Dinty ran everywhere at full speed, making a strange whirring noise. Grimlock assumed he was humming or something like it, but he never asked. "What's your boss?" called Dinty as he drew near. Phalanx is still smaller than most space hooks. It's not even funny how big these things are. If they weren't basically hollow hooks themselves, an orc could disrupt the moon's orbit if dropped close. Oh, so they're not quite as big as the attack moons that the orcs use in the Beast War. A renowned orc philosopher, whose wisdom has been accumulated from at least one prophet. He passes his knowledge mostly to the worthy, but occasionally the unworthy if they happen to be close by. Gaspag, da Finker. Gasparg, sorry. Oh, Gaspag would be funnier. Gasparg, da Finker. Look, it's a grot. Also, big old squigs and people on top. Grimlock grunted in reply. Got something to tell you, boss, said Dinty. Wait, got something to tell you, boss, said Dinty, a trace of nerves entering his voice. Grimlock grunted again. The little grot was wearing a grubby cloth cap, and he took it off his head and began to twist it in his hands for a moment, before hugging it as though it was the most comforting thing in the world. Bingy Spot, Thing is, boss, he continued, our old boss, remember him? He's here. What? Yelled Grimlock, breaking into a giant grin. This could be just the distraction his lads needed. I think he might be wondering where his army went, and you know how he gets. Get the lads, shouted Grimlock. It's time for a bit of fun. Hold on, boss, said Dinty, slapping his hat back on his head and holding his hands as though about to prevent Grimlock from leaving. Grimlock stepped over him. Dinty looked around in surprise, then caught sight of his retreating master and scuttled after him. Wait, boss, there's a lot more of them. Good, spat Grimlock. About time. We got some practice in. No, boss, there's too many. What do you want me to do about it? You were talking the other day about trying.
Hello,
tactics.
Cupcake.
Hello, Foxy. How you doing? That was just idle talk. There's no time to waste, said Grimlock, striding ahead. But what if it could work, boss? You know, we've got a great mastermind to hand. What if he could help you get some killing done more efficiently? Something better than running at them, screaming and getting killed right away. Grimlock sighed. Dinty was annoying, but he also had a habit of being right. Among the lads he'd taken from his old horde was a renowned military technician, allegedly anyway. Dinty seemed to have a sixth sense for when his master had started to agree with him, and he tapped his forehead knowingly and sped off ahead. Follow me, boss, he shouted over his shoulder just before he began whirring again, and Grimlock jogged reluctantly behind. Is Dinty literally just Naruto running everywhere? I'm imagining him Naruto running. Even for an arc, Gaspag's tent was a complete hovel. They had only moved into this camp a few days back, but somehow there seemed to be months of detritus littering the floor, all encrusted with a layer of absolute foulness. Grimlock and Dinty entered cautiously, and before they'd got to more than a couple of steps in, a great figure loomed out of the darkness. Gaspard, the wisest of orcs. What? He said in apparently genuine puzzlement. Grimlock poked his head in the chest. Poked him hard in the chest, sorry. I'm here to learn tactics, he said. Gaspag picked his nose thoughtfully. Thing is, he said, tactics is one of them things that you gotta do right. It is, Grimlock? Asked Grimlock, puzzled. Right, said Gaspag. But I don't think, he trailed off. Yeah, I don't like thinking either, said Grimlock, trying to show that he was on board. Gives me an horrible headache. There, my throat. Gaspag shook his head as though trying to dislodge something from his ears. Nah, he said. What I meant is I don't think that it should be too hard. All he needed to do tactics is to do some stuff that makes the other gits think you gotta do something, and then you do something else. Make them think I'm doing something, then I do something else, and that's doing tactics. Asked Grimlock doubtfully. That sounds like a lot of messing about. Yeah, agreed Gaspag, nodding his head furiously. It is. Grimlock tried to stroke his chin thoughtfully, but Mason struck 3 fingers in his mouth. Oh, the heck? Fuck. I'm just imagining the arc. Oh, I thought arcs weren't meant to be that clumsy. Arcs be doing an arc, lol. I mean, when you have to, that's like playing D&D and you've got like a low dexterity score, and it's like I just all I do is put my fingers on my chin as if I'm trying to think. It's like, roll me a dexterity. It's like, okay, I'll got a 1. And it's like, okay, you just put 3 fingers in your mouth. Comic relief, here we go, yeah. Don't sound very orky to me, he said. What's more orky than getting killed so you can't crump anymore? Wait, what's more orky then? Getting killed so you can't crump anymore? Or crumping the other lot so you can go and find someone else and give them a good crumping too? Grimlock contemplated this for a moment. The other one, he said eventually. Okay, I'll try it. If that don't work, I'll have you. Look at that dude. He's such a cool little guy. Look at the little... I love this little thing at the top. Grimlock strode out of his tent with Dinty skipping behind him. It's gotta be so good, boss. Let's get him. Shut up, said Grimlock. We need to test this first. Get Logrog on his boys. I've got some special orders for them. By the way, boss. I didn't put an extra quotation mark here. By the way, boss, shouted Dinty, and he whirred off towards the edge centre of the camp. Naruto running away. A short while later, Grimlock stood, watching apprehensively, as his boys set off to carry about their special orders. Outside of their camp, a mob of orcs was scattering across a barren patch of scrubland. The stench of the invading army had reached the camp already, and still more kept streaming in. It looked like his old boss wasn't taking his resignation very well. Soon Grimlock's troops were ready, and Logrog set off ahead of a small mob of trusty boys, at first proceeding at a steady amble, then a jog, and then they broke into a hectic run. Wah! They called, charging down towards the enemy. I mean, I can't do a good wah. I sound like a grot. Wah! Down towards the enemy, who braced to receive a small but powerful attack. The charging orcs sped up, their heads down. Then, when they were no more than 20 yards away from the enemy lines, the bullets were flying haphazardly over them. They abruptly changed direction. Wah! They called again, running parallel to the enemy lines. The enemy watched in amazement. Suddenly they pivoted 180 degrees. Wah! The invading army stopped firing, spellbound as Lostrog and his lads pelted up and down, abruptly changing direction every so often. Boss? Asked Dinty. When do we stop doing tactics and attack? Grimlock squinted his eyes in deep concentration. He couldn't quite remember exactly what he'd told them to... when he told them to turn and attack. But he must have mentioned it, hadn't he? For another half an hour, Grimlock sat in silence watching as the enemy roared with laughter and pointed in amazement at the unit charging up and down the plain in front of them. To roar correctly, you gotta keep the noise at the back of your mouth. Eventually panting with exhaustion, Logrog and his lads began to bicker and argue amongst themselves. Then, with what energy they had remaining, they turned and charged at last into the enemy. To an orc, they were completely slaughtered. Dinty stepped carefully out of arm's reach and then coughed gently. So what's next, boss? Grimlock glared at him. All colour had drained out of his face, leaving him completely green. Get me gosh, Bog, he said quietly. It wasn't long before Garsbog was stretched in front of Grimlock, and he whiffered under the boss's glare. The great tactician seemed to know enough about war to realise that he was in for a kicking, and he drew up his chopper ready to defend himself. Grimlock punched the blade. The chopper dug deep into his hand, but when it hit bone it stopped, and the rest of the punch propelled the back of the chopper into Garsbog's face. He dropped to the floor, bubbling snot and blood from his nose. Grimlock wrenched the chopper out of his shattered hand and booted Garsbog square in the head. Garsbog sagged under the hail of vicious kicks, and soon he didn't even lift his arms to stave off the blows. As the sound of a beating reverberated around the camp, a few orcs who weren't already nearby hurried over to watch. Once Garbog's head had been reduced to a puddle of ghoul, Grimlock slowed and then turned to address the horde. "Right," he bellowed. "This is how it's gonna be. We has gotta get them gits. We gotta kick 'em, we gotta crump 'em, and we gotta use absolutely no tactics whatsoever. Anyone got a problem with that?" Less of a word and more of a war, to be fair. I'm also pretty sure that it's a piece of music with orc singing, and the warring is quite terrifying. Oh. I've not heard that, I think. A huge cheer went up from the assembled orcs. "Follow me, lads," shouted Grimlock, thundering off, and he raised his voice in a cry. The rest of orcs began running behind him and raised their voices as one. Roar! Grimlock surveyed the mob ahead. Still more orcs arrived, and despite the general optimism, he had to admit things did not look good. But what else was an orc to do? He sped up, his legs burning.
How you
with more
doing
effort.
today?
"I'm okay. How are you doing?" He drew out his shooter, meaning to get a few shot rounds off before the inevitable happened, and he was overwhelmed by the sheer numbers he was facing. Alongside him, inexplicably maintaining the pace despite his short legs, was Stinty. He was screaming and whirring, tiny dagger drawn, ready to hack at the enemy, but something strange was happening. The orcs ahead weren't looking ready to receive a charge, or looking more like they were ready to watch a show. As he drew ever closer, Grimlock realised that only a few shots had been fired at them. Instead, the orcs were pointing and laughing. Some were arguing as they were placing bets. Grimlock and his horde thundered ever closer to the front lines, 50 yards, 30, 20. Once they were 10 yards out and still closing, suddenly Grimlock saw panic in the enemy's eyes. Apparently the tactics worked. They scrambled for their weapons, but it was too late. Grimlock and his horde tore into the unprepared enemy. They carved deep into the enemy lines, practically splitting the opposing mob in two. Deep confusion set in, and with Grimlock's boys suddenly in their midst, the enemy didn't know what to do other than fight anything in front of them. They threw themselves indiscriminately at their attackers and each other. The air was thick with a mist of blood as bullets impacted randomly, while cries of woe rent the air as limbs were hacked and heads were cleaved. Oh! Amid the carnage, not only was Grimlock having a fantastic time, he was starting to think he might even win, if the enemy kept killing each other anyway. But moments later, Grimlock's heart sank as a shadow loomed over him. There was only one orc he knew who could cast the shadow like that. His old boss, Gaspag. That big. Grimlock turned, and sure enough, a giant orc was looming over him. "What you doing?" demanded Gaspag. "This is my lads." "They're mine," I shouted Grimlock. "What you doing?" demanded Gaspag again. "You're all confusing, not running at us, then running at us. What you doing?" That tactic we call da ruse. Something started to form slowly in Grimlock's mind. Gaspag had been expecting to do one thing, and he'd done something else, and it hit him all at once. "I was doing tactics," roared Grimlock, and he grabbed his chopper in his good hand and swung wildly at Gaspag, but the orc simply sidestepped his attack, laughing. A slow, dull laugh. Grimlock ducked as a blow came back in response, but another caught him off guard, hitting him clean in the chest. As Grimlock flew back, winded, Dinty ran forward screaming and began to hack ineffectually at Gaspag's leg. The giant orc looked down in confusion. Then with a nasty grin on his face, he looked directly at Grimlock and pointedly stepped on Dinty, squashing him into the floor. Grimlock got back onto his feet, bellowing with rage. Oh, he's sad that his squad got killed. Suddenly, he wondered if he could tactic his way to victory. He bent his leg and leaned right as though about to hurl himself through the air. But at last possible moment, he leapt left. Gaspag's chopper thundered into the ground in the wrong place. Grimlock ran forward and hacked with all his might. Gaspag was caught off guard, and a couple of blows later he toppled over, his leg cut from under him. The giant orc hit the ground with a huge thud, and Grimlock struck and hacked until his enemy face fell still. As the giant orc lay dead in the mud, the orcs nearby slowed fighting. Realizing there was now only one leader on the field. "You're my lads now." My foe. Grimlock bellowed, "Stop playing around. There's work to be done." The fighting slowed further, and a ripple of uncertainty flowed out across the battlefield. A nearby knob looked at Grimlock, and the battered remains of Gasbag in complete bewilderment. Grimlock strode up to him and smacked the confused orc beside of the head. "Get your boys in order," he growled. "There's no time for playing around." "Yep, I need to hydrate. Yush bosh." Apologetically. And in turn, the knob said apologetically, and in turn smacked another nearby orc beside of her head. "Do you hear what the boss said?" he demanded, within a few minutes of fighting had ceased. And the muddled orcs were all reprimanding each other for messing around. Not long afterwards, they headed back into the camp, which suddenly didn't seem big enough. A short while later, Grimlock assembled his new Gasbag. The big looms over battlefield with rage. Oh, you know, I'm hoping that Gaskell Thacker now gets replaced with Grimlock. Grimlock's way cool. So what did that say? A short while later, Grimlock assembled his new expanded horde just outside the camp. If any of them remembered that they had been at war with each other shortly before, they showed no signs of it. It's weird that orcs often abusive to grots do just as often form deep attachments to the ones that entertainment them. Yeah. The first rule of orcs is never kill an orc's grot. Yeah. Or if you do, find another grot to replace it quick before they notice. Like Makari. A giant metal totem pole stood before them all, specially erected by the mechs and Grimlock's orders. So snake bites, which this clan seems to be, are generally less techy and sometimes viewed as stupid by other orcs. But they don't have as much tech and stuff as for others. They're much more focused on the old ways. They often have a lot of the Beast Snagger type orcs now. Although Beast Snaggers are a bit more techy than Snakebikes generally are. Snakebikes still have fleet and warp capability, but most of their fleets are things like rocks and stuff rather than actual mechanical ships. Seeing that the boss was about to speak, some of the more attentive orcs stopped talking. "Oi!" Grimlock hollered, and most of the remainder fell silent or were beaten silent by some of the larger orcs of the crowd. Grimlock cleared his throat. "This is for Gasbag," he said. "The thinkiest orc ever." On orc, this was a rousing speech, and the lads burst into howls of wild appreciation. When realising that the ceremony was over, they began to head back to the camp where the fighting pits and other diversions were. Once all the orcs had gone, Grimlock stepped towards a totem and began to climb it. His bad arm was still healing, and he slipped and groaned his way up the side, but eventually he heaved his way to the top. Checking around to make sure nobody was looking, he pulled a small cloth cap out of his pocket. He scratched a couple of bloodstains with his fingernails and then flicked a couple of lumps of mud off, then gently placed it on top of a totem, patted it a couple of times, and made what might have been a soft whirring noise under his breath. "Oh, that was Dinty's cap!" When he heaved his way back down, Grimlock sat at the base silent for a few minutes, and then got up and ambled back to the camp. As he passed through the wet grass, a parade of young orcs charged in front of him, chasing some unseen quarry and whooping with delight. There were more of them now, of course, but they seemed capable of amusing themselves. Those are older orcs he needed to worry about. It would be long before they got restless, and he needed to find someone fun they could fight. The more dangerous the better. But on the bright side, the air had been thick with ships lately. No doubt someone new and fun was arriving who they'd be able to fight. It was always fun to get a surprise enemy turning up. Besides, thought Grimlock to himself, this time he knew how to tactic. Oh, he put his... Is the little cap up there? No, it's not up there. Oh, he put Dinty's little cap on top of the thing. Okay, then you've got the Rangork's Rampagers. The World Eaters Warband of... Oh, Kavagar? The Blooded had been the terror of a score of worlds, through the Layerfold belt and beyond. How they travelled from battlefield to battlefield is unclear, but rumours persist of unholy portals formed of swirling blood tides that rise from the butchered bodies of their victims. They care for nothing but killing in the blood god's name, piling heaps of skulls high and leaving charnel destruction their way. And there we go. Ah, I didn't expect the best story there to be an orky one. Oh, it's the most emotional one as well. Well, that's only fitting because we got orcs here. But thank you for coming to the stream today. I don't think we have much time for anything else. Although I do need to put my little sight. How is he going to shoot straight if he doesn't have a sight on his gun? It broke off. There we go. Look at that. I know why the Tau lost the fusion blades. The orcs stole the fusion blades. Oh no. The orcs stole them. Oh my gosh. Imagine if the orcs, the new codex, had a new detachment that was literally just fusion blades. That would be hilarious. I'm hoping looters don't become legends. So it would suck if they do. That's a bit of a weak connection there. I didn't know orcs could shoot straight. I mean sometimes. Wastacker certainly seems to be able to. And Morgonauts aren't too bad if there's a war going on. As Nasguns can. No, that's just because they fire enough shots that they pretty much hit everything in front of them. They hit on a 4+. Morgonauts get +1 to hit on the war. If you got a big mech in your unit, you can reroll 1s to hit. Which is pretty nice. I think looters already get something like that though. I think looters aren't actually too bad at hitting. Let me see. New recruit. Looters. Orc. That's not the correct one. Orc looters. Looter. They have the more Daka reroll 1, but that's on for Big Mech. Press it faster, that's on for Big Mech. Rod assistant, Big Mech. That's our loot. Each time this orc makes an attack, reroll a hit roll of a 1. And if a target's within range of an objective, you can reroll the hit roll instead. So, looters hit on 5s, but forget rerolls to hit. That being said, if your enemy's on an objective, they hit on 6s. Actually, no, they hit on 6s, but they got heavy. Yeah, orc shooting is going to be absolutely terrible in the new edition. Unless they get something to help the shooting out. Because a more Daka detachment doesn't help, it just gives you assault, and that sucks. Oh no, flash kits don't hit on 4s, that might have been a previous edition. It might be that they can get an enhancement or something in one of the detachments to hit better. I don't know. Realize this guy's got a hole in his back. Probably meant to be a boss build or something there. Oh, whatever. Who cares? Well, it's like trying to dodge while shoot you. Always falling over while trying to shoot with a giant fusion gun. I don't know what this is from. I can't remember. Saturnine, maybe? 9? Oh, I think it's something for Armagus. I think it's the... No, because I didn't build... I'd used for... No, it's not for Armager, Thermal Lancer. Because I built for Thermal Lancer. Didn't build for Archer Cannon one. No idea what that's from. I just found it in my bits box. 5+ with heavy. Oh, for heavy, it allows them to hit on a 4+. Well, now that's going to go down to 5+ because everyone's going to be in cover all the time. But tomorrow, we're going to build all of this stuff. I've already built a bunch of these guys, but I didn't build them on stream for Calm Berserkers. So, I've not built any Jackals. I've built loads of Garmongers. 16 of them now, 2 boxes. But tomorrow's a morning stream. I hope you had fun. If you liked the stream, then please give me a like because it does help me out. And big love hearts to you all. Hope you have a good rest of your day. Remember to work hard but play harder. Take care of yourselves and be kind to others and vice versa. Eat good food, sleep well, dream of cupcakes, but don't eat for cupcakes. The friends that food. Goodbye, everyone. Love you all. Yeah. And do smash. Yeet. Make sure to like, because every like is another berserker nail in your head. I don't know. Berserk stream. Griffin. No, not that type of berserk. World eaters. Word bearers.